this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. They're telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. This will be the last Ground Zero before Christmas. However, it's not the last Ground Zero of 2018. I know a lot of other talk show hosts are saying, I won't see you until after the new year. I mean, how lazy is that? So many good things to talk about between now and January 1. But hey, it's a lot of fun to be on the air just before Christmas or a little after Christmas. You know, it's always fun to do that. And I was telling you the other day that I was looking over some of the Christmas specials that are on TV. And one of them, of course, was The Year Without a Santa Claus. The reason why was because, you know, we just did that show about the miser's touch. We did the show about the heat and the cold and the geoengineering, and I just wanted to, you know, kind of reminisce about those old Rankin Bass stop motion, you know, I'm Mr. Heat Blister, I'm Mr. 101. I just think that's so cool. I don't know why. I like that stuff. It's kind of fun. So as I was going through all the Christmas specials, from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer to that one to, there's Burl Ives, there's Fred Astaire, you know, there's all of the different Rankin Bass. I mean, those guys, you know, that was like the 1960s they did that, so I had no idea. That was the 1960s. They're literally my age. They're our age, really. Okay? So, you know, if the kids are watching, they'll just say, you know, that was made when I was a little baby. And it still holds up to today. It just is amazing how some of these Christmas specials hold up really well. Even the Grinch. I mean, come on, that's Boris Karloff doing the voice of the Grinch. Love the Grinch. The Grinch is one of my favorites. I mean, you know, I haven't seen the new one with Cumberbatch. He's the guy that's doing the voice of the new one. I may just break down and go see it. I didn't like the Jim Carrey version at all. Didn't strike me as being cool. But I can just see Cumberbatch really pull that off. He's just good. You know, he's got that good voice. You know, he did the dragon in Lord of the Rings. So I can see him actually being the Grinch. But yeah, Boris Karloff, when he did the Grinch, that was some amazing stuff. Really liked that stuff. Well, I'm on the subject of old Christmas specials. So I was pursuing, you know, I was perusing my video queue, you know, because, you know, at our house we have a video queue. And every once in a while, I go through the video queue to see what's in there. You know, usually they have something set aside for me, or I get to see what Janine's watching, and maybe if there's something she's watching that I'm interested in watching, I watch what she wants to watch. We recently got Venom in the queue. I like Venom. I don't care what the critics say. I thought Venom was a good film. And so, you know, we got Venom, which is cool. But, I was actually perusing my video queue and just to see what it had to offer. And I found this really cool surprise in my Netflix queue. It was The New Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Now, I haven't told anybody this, but I watched the entire series of it. Remember I was talking about how dark it was supposed to be and how scary and satanic and weird it was supposed to be. Well, I wanted to see it. I mean, even though I talk about it, and I heard what it was all about, I really wanted to see Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I like the paranormal. I don't think if I watch it or if it has a theme that's kind of dark and scary, I don't think I'm going to hell anytime soon. I mean, I go to horror films. I love horror movies. I've been a horror movie fan for a long time, and what we say, the silliest they are, the better they are, in my opinion. Well, I watched the full season of Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and what was supposed to be this harmless paranormal tale started to get a little darker and darker and darker. It appeared that the show was very open about the religion it supports. That, of course, is Satanism. And I think real witches probably are offended by this because, most witches, unless you're a satanic witch, witches don't worship the devil. Okay, their nature, their matriarchy, they like the divine feminine and they like nature and this is like right out of the book of Satanism. It really is in a lot of ways. In fact, I think it's the most openly satanic show on TV, albeit a bit cartoonish, but it's still very open about, Satan bless you and Satan bless us everyone. This is nuts. I don't know if I mentioned that, the series creators were sued. They were actually sued by the Satanic Temple, claiming a statue that displayed, in Sabrina Spellman's fictional school, the Academy of Unseen Arts, and they were saying something about how the Baphomet they had in there infringed on its copyright because the monument of Baphomet looked like the monument of Baphomet they've been fighting like hell to have set up all over the country next to the Ten Commandments. Well, the Satanic Temple wasn't very happy with having its statue associated with certain themes in the series, specifically prominent uses of this symbol as the central focal point of the school associated with evil, cannibalism, and murder. The bad guys, right? They didn't like that. But I thought, how avant-garde of them. Satan is suing over a questionably satanic presentation featuring cartoon Satanism. I wonder if the Catholic Church has a case against the movie The Exorcist. Probably not, but, come on. This is the first time I've ever heard of a religion suing because we just don't like the way we're being portrayed in this movie. Hell, Scientology has case after case after case after case then. And so, I don't know what happened. I guess Warner Brothers settled out of court with these satanic guys. And out of all the times I've interviewed, I interviewed Peter Gilmore of the Church of Satan. I've had Diablos Rex on the program. I've interviewed all kinds of black magicians. I don't even want to go near the Satanic Temple. They just seem like a bunch of douchebags. They just do. I've never in my life, look, this is the same Satanic Temple that just loves to crash the party at Christmas. Because I don't know if you know this, the Chicago chapter has now been allowed to place a statue in the Illinois Capitol alongside holiday displays of nativity scenes and the menorah and everything else. And see, this is the thing. I don't mind the message. It's the sculpture. Knowledge is the greatest gift, yes. But it's a forearm with a woman holding an apple, right? And I'm not a prude. I'm all for religious equality. But they claim to be non-theistic. So what do they care about a theistic holiday? They just want to be jerks. As I was saying, it's like, this is the jerky thing to do. They just want to get in people's faces. We're Satanists, like it or not. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can be a fashion victim if you want to be, but it doesn't matter. There are plenty of people out there that are fine with their religion, whether it be witchcraft or Satanism or paganism, whatever it is, the reason why this is so important, I think, is because today is the solstice, okay? And I've never had a show that's fallen on the solstice where I can't just really dig in and talk about the solstice. And so as I was saying, I was looking through my Netflix queue and there it was, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And it was an episode that was an addendum to their other episodes called A Midwinter's Tale. I had to watch it because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I saw the preview too, and there were witches, and there was a Krampus in there, and a bunch of other Nordic tales I thought were really cool to talk about. So it was surprisingly fun to watch, and it was a little spooky. It was really kind of clever some of the ways they took liberties with some of these stories. I mean, Santa in the film, or in the TV series, Santa was a mall Santa, and he had an alter ego, and I'm sure you know what that alter ego was. It's Krampus, of course. You know, I play Santa in the mall, but at night I'm Krampus. It's a great little twist there. But Santa, witches, Krampus all show up in Greendale to actually show what a darker and spooky Yuletide is all about. Now, we all know that the best holiday specials interest along between seasons, moving the plot forward just enough to justify all the one-off Christmas mischief in the episode. You know, we see that just, you can get away with a lot. Like, remember when the Flintstones had a Christmas special? I mean, how did that happen? How can the Flintstones have a Christmas special? Think about it for a moment. They can't. I mean, it happened before Jesus, so why would they have a Christmas special? It happened before the Yule log. What? So anyway, it's just crazy to have the Flintstones having a Christmas special. But of course, it's just as crazy having a bunch of witches having a Christmas special. But it wasn't a Christmas special, really. It was a solstice special. There was a lot of Christmas trappings in there, Christmas trees, Yule logs. They even said Merry Christmas, and so oh, don't even say Merry Christmas. You need to say, you know, Merry Solstice. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, okay. Because it's not about Jesus. It's about, you know, the Dark One, about the Dark Lord. Anyway. So, yeah, I took a few liberties. TV special actually did a great job of putting together horror with holiday spirit, allowing us to, you know, have a few good tidings, and then, of course, the witches show up. And then we start thinking about the winter solstice and how it's a holiday for some people. I mean, there were gingerbread house effigies, spellbound Yule logs, decorative pentagrams, all adorned with colorful baubles, beautiful Christmas trees adorned with pentagrams. I mean, come on. I mean, it's kind of like the idea of Vincent Price reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And of course, you know, good old Boris Karloff being the Grinch. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
You're listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700.
The three words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote,
Stink, stank, stunk. All right. It's fun. It's Christmas, and we're very happy to be here tonight. It's going to be Christmas in a few days. We got a long weekend ahead of us. But again, as I said, going through the Christmas specials, I got a little surprise. It was Midwinter's Tale. It was Midwinter's Tale, and it was from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And I watched it because I wanted to see, you know, how dark it could get. And man, I'll tell you, it was dark, it was fun, it was scary, but it was all about the solstice. It's all about the solstice. And so, you know, it had a lot of characters in it that were from a lot of the darker sides of Christmas, including Krampus. Krampus basically doubled as a mall Santa named Bartel. And Bartel is another name for Krampus, which I realized because they said Mr. Bartel, and I'm going, oh my gosh, really? Really? I'm sure a lot of people didn't pick up on that, but Bartel is just another name for Krampus. And so, you know, and then of course Krampus, he kidnaps children. He makes them into wax dummies. And what's interesting too is that we did a Krampus show, and we're going to play it this Christmas. We did Krampus radio play where, in the Krampus radio play, this young boy wishes that, this Nazi, leaves his family alone. And, Krampus turns the Nazi into like the scarecrow who lives forever. And in this one, there was a witch that turns the Krampus into a candle that burns forever, and it's still alive as it's burning. It's just an amazing play on everything. But the witch's name was Gryla. Okay? And Gryla is a very, very, very scary individual. Now, while Krampus may be the king of holiday scares, a lot of people may be overlooking an equally nasty, much more formidable queen of scare at Christmas. A Christmas monster who lives further north in the frigid climes of Iceland, Gryla, the Christmas witch. Now, when we had our Krampus party, a listener, very well-known listener, comes to all the Ground Zero lounges. She shows up as Frances Moore. She came as Gryla. And she always brings the Gryla mask every year, and she wears it with this furry headdress, and it's so amazing because it's such a lifelike looking Gryla mask. And if you go to my Ground Zero site, groundzeromedia.org, you'll see the picture of me wearing the Krampus mask, looking in my Santa suit, looking like Krampus. But notice how Gryla looks. She looks real. I mean, just the mask is so amazing. So, in fact, when she shows up, I always say, I call her Gryla, or I call her Freuda, or something. It's just the idea of the witch showing up, the Christmas witch showing up. And, while, she's this dainty, woman, shows up as Gryla. Gryla actually is a giant female ogress that lives in a cave in Iceland's hinterlands, and she is the matriarch of a family of strange creatures. And these creatures launch attacks on nearby townships, and when they show up, they snatch, of course, back to the idea, they snatch up misbehaving children, and they put them in stew. See, what's the thing? The thing that's so weird is that all of these old legends of these scary Christmas figures are the ones that are doing all the dirty work, getting rid of all the bad kids, either eating them or killing them or beating them. They really, really gave these horror stories, they really made these horror stories a threat to the kids because they wanted the kids to do well. I guess kids were just unruly. They were just unruly, and they needed something like, Gryla or Krampus or Bartel to keep them in order. So, in the Sabrina story, though, Sabrina the Teenage Witch story, Gryla shows up, and she's like this sensual siren and brings with her a group of poltergeists called the Yule Lads, which appears a bunch of shadowy children who topple over furniture, and in one scene, topples over flour in the kitchen, and like in the old urban legends, remember the old urban legends where, your car gets stuck, and if you pour flour on the car, you can see the handprints? Well, in this show, these little poltergeists knock over the bag, and all this flour goes over it, you see their little footprints. I'm sure you've had that happen. Somebody's had that happen to them where they've seen like handprints on their cars, or they've seen footprints in like powder or something on the floor. I mean, I've heard these stories before from people, so feel free to call and share that story with me if you want, because it is the solstice, the darkest night of the year before Christmas, the most darkest, dark night of the year. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. It is the night of Gryla. Beware, kids.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. It's the darkest night of the year. It is the solstice. Began at 2:23 today. I spent the solstice with my wife. It was amazing. We were in the car. We gave a big cheer for the solstice. It's a night of darkness. It's a night of monsters. It's a night of the veil being thin. They said Halloween is thin, but this is even thinner because it gets darker. It's later in the year. We await Sol Invictus, which means the light to return as the days afterwards get longer. We're ever closer to spring again. But see, around this time, anciently, the kids were all snug in their beds. And not only were there visions of sugar plums in their heads, but visions of monsters that would lurk in the woods. I mean, we're all told that there are no monsters. We've been said there's no weird or strange things out there hiding on a solstice, a winter solstice. But a monster is also a matter of how you think. It's not just what you observe. A predator can be anything from a mountain lion to a wolf. Their hunger is overwhelming, and their need to feed in the winter months is also something to consider. The arrival of the winter solstice in ancient times was not a casual affair. Not like it is now. I mean, the darkness of the solstice would envelop the villages and the countryside, and many people would see it as a time of sickness, and in some cases it was a time to prepare for death. And even before Christmas was even celebrated, there were rituals that were performed that included the building of large fires and the lighting of trees with candles. And these rituals were meant to keep the winter beasts of the forests away. And during the cold winter months, these beasts would search for food and their prey, and that would be the animals of the farm. We'd see sheep, pigs, and even dogs found mangled and disemboweled as the shadowy creatures would move through the farmland. It was also normal for these beasts to attack children. And it was always children. Animals, children. Most of these creatures were quite possibly wolves or bears. However, there were other creatures that were reportedly seen that were described as cannibalistic giants that fed off the blood of the humans. Gryla, or Grayla. That's the character that's the scariest one. Far more scary than Krampus. One of the creatures of the woods, one of the ogresses of the woods, growling and howling. In fact, Gryla means growler. She's the growler, the howler. Heard nightly, all the crunching of the snow as they walked through town and kept little children under their beds and in the cellars where they could find safety. For the pre-Christian Norse and other Germanic peoples, humans were far from the only intelligent or conscious life forms in the world. Every animal, plant, rock, river, lake, another element of what we today call the natural world, had its particular animating spirit. The world was also filled with countless beings that were indescribable. Now think about that. Pre-Christian Norse mythologies and Germanic stories, all about rocks, plants, animals, all having a spark of spirit. And where are we now in science? Looking into panpsychism. Very same thing. Very same thing. Is science going back to some of the old stories and trying to find meaning in them? That's what I want to know. Because, I mean, if you go back in time, there was a logical explanation, I'm sure, for the devourers, the giants, the devourers, Gryla, and, you know, they're like chaotic spirits of the night, darkness, winter, all that. And as I was saying, Christmas specials. I was very surprised that from what I saw in that TV show, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Gryla shows up as this, she's not ugly. I mean, she's not all that good looking either, but she's not really an ugly witch. She's just this siren. And she brings with her a group of poltergeists called the Yule Lads, which appear as shadowy children who topple over furniture. And as I said, they topple over flour in one scene. You see the little footprints of these guys. Now in Iceland, they celebrated the midwinter holiday and they called it Jule. Jule, which of course is a version of the Old English and Old Germanic word Yule, which describes the time of gathering together, feasting and celebrating, and which evolved into what we call the modern Christmas celebration. It's generally darker there than it is in the United States. So as the solstice is celebrated, the darker times of the year, it's usually a time where the veil is the thinnest, and it's seen as the time where the demons descend from the sky and people take part in the infernal hunt, the wild hunt. Well, the earliest celebrations of the season were viewed as a time not only to bring together relatives, living and deceased of course, but also you would leave things out for the elves to show up, or you'd be fully aware that if you do something, the trolls would come on, and other magical and spooky creatures also showed up. And they would inhabit that landscape wherever you are. And sometimes these figures would visit in the flesh. They wore masks. They went around farms and houses and did all kinds of scary stuff. And Gryla, the growler, would be among one of these characters showing up with a horned tail in a bag again, or she would toss the naughty children. She was certainly around in about the year 1300, not directly associated with Christmas, but associated with a threat that lives in the mountains. You never knew exactly where she was. Many times she was seen with Krampus because she ate her husband. And when she got bored, she got bored with him and she ate him. So maybe we can say that Gryla would be to Krampus what Mrs. Claus is to Santa. Maybe not. I mean, there are other stories, parts of the folklore describe a second troll-like husband and a giant man eating Yule cat. A man eating Yule cat. And that Yule cat would show up, probably a mountain lion of some kind, maybe like the Wendigo, show up, target anybody who doesn't have on new clothes. So that encouraged buying on Black Friday, I'm sure, if there was a Black Friday to be had back in the 1300s. So, it's just amazing. Some of these, new Christmas specials that are out and how they open your mind to, or at least trigger some old stories I remember reading about. And, when you do research on these stories for your show, they just jump out. You say, wasn't that her character, Gryla? Who is she? Oh yeah, she was that ugly troll woman that is kind of like a succubus. She's like the old hag that shows up. There are a lot of guys sometimes when I come to these Ground Zero get-togethers and they say to me, what do you know about the old hag? And I'd say, well, which one? I'd say, well, the old hag that shows up at night and she's in your bedroom and she wants you. Wants you how? Sexually. I'm going, what? Yeah. And I said, well, that's a succubus. A succubus is, that's really creepy to have a succubus appear in your house. It's kind of like the rake. I mean, women say they see the rake or they see incubus or incubi, succubi. And, these are really terrifying creatures. I don't know if Gryla would apply as a succubi, but she certainly is a witch of some kind. Let's go to Robert in Ohio. Hi, Robert. You're on Ground Zero.
Hello, Clyde. Merry Christmas to you and all.
Merry Christmas. Happy solstice.
Yes. I'm just curious, Clyde. I was wanting to ask you, have you ever seen the television series that was on years ago with James Whitmore? I think it was called The Continuing Story of Ebenezer Scrooge, where they had gone through the Christmas Carol thing, seen the spirits and all that, but the people that he was giving to afterwards, and he just kept giving his wealth and his love and all that stuff.
Your phone's breaking up, Robert. There you go.
Sorry.
There you go. You're fine.
Where they just continued to want more and more from him.
I didn't see that.
Yes, it was something that was made for television, and James Whitmore was the man who played the one who played Ebenezer Scrooge in the thing. And
so they still wanted more and more from him after he'd done well. They keep giving us more, Mr. Scrooge.
Yes, it was unique how they did that. I've never seen it on that much. They just don't show it anymore. I don't know why.
I got to look into that. That sounds interesting. Can you imagine? Mr. Scrooge is a pushover now. He got bullied by a bunch of ghosts. Now we're going to take everything from him.
Yeah, exactly. They take advantage of him.
Right.
But there's somebody, I think it's his nephew or somebody that tells him, Uncle Scrooge, you've got to quit giving to these people because they just expect it from you now.
Someone who's very cynical,
and all that.
Someone who's very cynical wrote that. You understand that? Somebody who's very cynical of that, of Scrooge, giving and giving and giving until he ran out of money. I think that's very cynical. I would be laughing out loud at that. I think it'd be funny as hell.
Yeah, well, but it was an interesting. Like I say, it was done for television.
Yeah,
it wasn't a big movie or anything like that. And of course, James Whitmore. I don't know. I suppose you know who James Whitmore.
Oh, of course, he'd give him Hell Harry, man. He was the best.
There you. But,
and I think he was also in The Next Voice You Hear.
Right.
That's one of the greatest movies ever. It had Ronald Reagan's wife in it.
Yes. Yeah. That was a great movie too that he had done. But
he was a great actor of our time. Really great actor.
He was. Unfortunately, he passed away after the Shawshank Redemption. But anyway, I was wanting to ask you too, Clyde. Have you ever heard the song by Perry Como? The song called Christmas.
I may have. I mean, my parents just loved Perry Como. Sing to me, Mr. C, sing to me. Remember that song? Sing to they called him Mr. C, sing to me, and then he'd sing.
But this is a song that, to me, every time Perry Como came on at our house, I knew it was Christmas because my mom always turned Perry Como on at Christmas.
Johnny Mathis.
That was your mom's
Johnny Mathis at our house.
Yes.
Chestnuts roast. I can't imitate him anymore. I used to be
This Christmas, the way it's spelled, it's the word Christmas, but there's a dot between each letter.
Is it an acronym?
I don't know how you would say it, but that's just the way it shows on it.
Speaking of Mr. C, I got a daddy joke for you. Ready?
Okay.
Why did the C join Antifa? The letter C. Why did the letter C join Antifa?
You got me.
Because all the other letters were not C's. I heard that the other day about die.
The thing of Perry Como's, Clyde, was called Perry Como Sings Christmas Music.
I'll look for it. I like Perry Como. I think Como's cool.
Yeah.
We should have a renaissance with Perry Como, Robert. I'm serious. Anyway, I got to run. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. Let's go down to Brett in Michigan. Hi, Brett. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Brett. Clyde.
Yeah, man.
Merry Christmas. Happy solstice.
Happy solstice. Merry Christmas.
You've tweaked a lot of memories here.
Well, good. I hope so.
Oh, yeah. Really fun ones. And the original movie Scrooge, and then the later one with Henry Winkler. I remember those as very, very uplifting, you know.
I'd like to know who all played Scrooge, because I played Scrooge in elementary school, and I didn't know Henry Winkler played Scrooge.
Yeah, I think that was early or mid '90s,
right?
Production, and he did a phenomenal job.
Do you remember Scrooge the musical?
Didn't you play part of that? Wasn't Boris Karloff involved with that?
No. It was Finney. I think Albert Finney was his name. He was Scrooge, and then sounds like I like life likes me, life and I very fully agree. It was a musical at one, and they that song, thank you very much, that's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. Just a bunch of songs that they sang, and that was Scrooge the musical. And I think Alec Guinness played Jacob Marley in that, because I remember I think it was Alec Guinness that played Jacob Marley. It was really creepy. And then, of course, this latest one, this Jim Carrey Disney one, is terrifying.
Oh, is it really?
I don't know if you've seen it. Jim Carrey plays all of the ghosts, and he plays Ebenezer Scrooge. But it's weird because the ghosts are just creepy. They're creepy. All of them are. Even the ghost of Christmas Present was supposed to be this like happy ghost, but he has a heart attack in the middle of the damn movie and turns blue and dies in front of Scrooge. I'm like, oh my God, that's a horror waiting to happen, right? So yeah, that's I don't know, but yeah, that's where, you know, I actually watched it. When was it? A couple nights ago with a friend of mine. And he looked at me and says, I don't remember Scrooge being this terrifying. It's supposed to be terrifying. In fact, I would love it if somebody decided to redo Scrooge and just make it a horror film. Because I think, and I recommend the Krampus movie. I don't know if you've seen the Krampus film, but that was well done. It was kind of like a Twilight Zone story. And it was really well done. You know,
speaking of Krampus, I remember an interview with some guy by the name of Doc Marquis. Does that ring a bell?
I remember Doc Marquis, yeah. In fact, I think I interviewed him for a Christmas show at one time.
Yeah. And you, speaking of Christmas witches, it sort of smacks me as if it's like a continuation of Halloween. And Doc Marquis expounded on the fact that way back when, like you said, 1300s, whatever, 12, whatever, there were these druids, and the druids would go into the villages, and they would demand, you know, it was weird if I remember accurately, but if the village didn't turn over X number of kids, and these were the druids would sacrifice them in some really bizarre ritual.
Yeah, they would put them in the arms of Moloch, and Moloch was like this horned effigy that had a fire, and they'd put it in the arms of Moloch, and then they'd pull the string, and then the baby would fall. Just like, rock-a-bye baby on the treetop.
Yeah,
when the bough breaks, they're in a tree, right? So it's the Yule tree. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, sizzle, sizzle, and all. That's basically what it is.
Well, I'm going to be watching I like Christmas Vacation. That may be my all-time favorite, you know.
Well, I like Christmas Vacation, too. I'm going to dig into some more this year, too, see if I can find any. I really appreciate the call. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, bro. Hey, by the way, wine. Hey, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, you got to check it out. Cavit, C-A-V-I-T, Pinot Noir.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you're going to love it. You and your wife are going to love it, okay?
Cavit Pinot Noir. We'll look for that. We'll be back. Today marks the shortest day of the year and the longest night. It's solstice, and it happened today about 2:23 p.m. And, I have never really had the opportunity to do a really good solstice show prior to Christmas, but this is Christmas weekend. It's the day that starts the Christmas weekend. It's kind of nice to have the solstice on a Friday, because that means you can celebrate the solstice, and then you have a whole weekend of fun, and then you have another 2 days of fun, both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I thought I would take an opportunity to kind of talk a bit about why the solstice is such a scary time for everybody. Because it's the coldest night too, and all of the mythologies and all of the stories of the dark side of Christmas happen during the solstice. Now, last hour I talked about Gryla. And it's funny because there are so many different stories I can tell you about Christmas and about some of the, what we call the wood creatures, the wood demons, or the darkest powers that exist in the woods. And for the longest time, there were a lot of monsters, I guess you could call them. Monsters that were sighted half man, half bear, called them werebears. Half man, half bear, half man, half wolf. And you also may have heard of the frost giants, or the yetis, and the other beasts were called the wendigo. I remember I joked a bit about how I should do Krampus and the Christmas Yeti, a story for Christmas. And I thought about it for a moment. I thought, yeah, we were talking about Gryla last hour and the Christmas giants of the northern climes. And then, of course, I don't know if you know this, but scientists recently discovered that the Yeti are real. They are real creatures. In fact, while the idea of the creature being a giant ape-man, similar to Sasquatch, has captured all of our imaginations, and how investigators have been saying this for centuries, the Yeti are in reality, as of yet, an unknown species of bear that live in the Himalayas. And what is most interesting is we probably know less about these very unusual bears than we know about the Yeti. Scientists from the University of Buffalo figured out that Himalayan brown bears split off from the rest of the regional bear population several thousand years ago, which is why they're so genetically distinct from most other brown bears. Living in geographic isolation for so long, it's basically separated them from the Asian brown bears and even from their relatives on nearby Tibetan plateaus. And they even look different. In fact, they are claiming that the bear itself is a hybrid species that would appear quite massive if it was seen standing on its hind legs. And that's the thing, is that this could be the culprit behind the stories of the frost giants. This could be the reason why all of these scary demons and giants from the Northlands that were talked about during the solstice. I mean, there may be more to the story, but I mean, look, connecting Yeti misconceptions is only the beginning of a journey where we can do a lot of dot connecting, and we can connect dots to many of the terrifying predators that existed in the woods and terrified villages all over the north and northeastern parts of the world during the solstice. I mean, these creatures are obviously responsible for many of the legends that have been handed down from generation to generation from the time of the winter festivals. I mean, the Alpine woods, there was Krampus in the Alpine woods. They were the wild monster demonic creatures that would terrify villagers. And, of course, they became part of the legends of the Christmas celebrations or the solstice celebrations. And all of them, for some reason, have this fascination, like Krampus, and we were talking about Gryla. And the reason why I'm talking about Gryla is because, as I said earlier, I was watching some of the Christmas specials. As I was going through my queue on Netflix, there was a Christmas special that just popped up. It was Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which I've watched the entire series, the entire season. And they had a Midwinter's Tale season, or a Midwinter's Tale episode that they threw in for good measure. And, well, I always say that, that you can take a few liberties about the holiday because that's what makes it fun. I was kind of pointing out that, the Flintstones even had a Christmas special, and I don't even know why the Flintstones would celebrate Christmas, but they did. But here we have, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which, of course, all the episodes basically focus on darkness and Satanism and witchcraft. And, it used to be fun, cartoonish. It's still kind of cartoonish in a way. But, man, it's got a lot of people, had a lot of Satanists angry because of the way they displayed Baphomet and all this. There was another case entirely got ugly. But what was interesting is this TV special about Sabrina did a great job at putting together horror with holiday spirit, allowing us to basically, you could revel in the good tidings of the witches' winter solstice holiday, but there were gingerbread house effigies, there were Yule logs that were casting spells, there were decorative pentagrams adorned with baubles and bangles and Yule logs and Krampus, and there was a witch that was in it named Gryla. And it was funny because every year when we do our Krampus party, there's a listener that shows up, and she dresses as Gryla, the Christmas witch. And it's kind of nice to have the Christmas witch there because it just shows that she knows of this Germanic and Icelandic type of, the Icelandic, northern Laplander legends that go along with Krampus. So I would dress in my Krampus suit because I have a mask and I have the suit. I have a Santa suit that I wear with a Krampus mask. And she'd show up looking like Gryla, who's this giant female ogress that lives in a cave in Iceland's hinterlands, and she is the matriarch of a family of strange creatures that launch attacks on nearby townships, snatching up misbehaving children and turning them into a delicious stew. She puts them in a stew. And in, of course, the Sabrina Teenage Witch show, Gryla shows up as a sensual siren. She's not ugly, and she's not an ogress, and she's certainly not a giant. But she brings with her a group of poltergeists called the Yule Lads, which appear as shadowy children who topple over furniture, and in one scene topples over the flour in the kitchen, and you see these little footprints of these Yule Lads, of these little ice kids. And in Iceland, the midwinter holiday is known as Jul, like the Yule. And we have the Yule, and we have the Germanic Yule, and we celebrate that along with the solstice, and it's mixed in with all the other pagan trappings of Christmas. That's how it was celebrated. And the way we celebrate Christmas is only about 150 years old, really. It's not really that we haven't really been celebrating Christmas like we do now. It's only been like 100 years or so that we've been doing it this way. Before, it was all about Gryla, it was all about Krampus, it was all about Santa, it was all about the Wendigo, it was all about all these giant, scary creatures. And, I mean, that goes all the way back to the year 1300. And this isn't directly associated with Christmas, it's just about the solstice. And tonight is the solstice. It's the longest night of the year. And so when you think of the longest night in the year, one of the things that's interesting, and Janine just told me this, she said, children are advised not to sleep tonight. That was the old, in the old days they said, children are advised not to sleep tonight. Why? Because this was the night that these beings would appear in homes. And so Gryla, sometimes you see Gryla with Krampus because, well, Krampus needed a friend, and Gryla ate her husband because she got bored with him. So maybe we can say that Gryla is to Krampus what Mrs. Claus is to Santa, or maybe not. Other bits of folklore describe a second troll-like husband and a giant man eating, there's a giant man eating Yule Cat. It's a Yule Cat, another monster that shows up. I mean, look, all these troublemakers visit households in the north, and these are all northern legends. And in the weird world of the paranormal, there are certainly a lot of strange, often eyebrow-raising things that are reportedly seen and encountered, from ghosts to aliens, demons, angels, and everything in between. There's no shortage of bizarre things that people claim to see. Now, believe it or not, there is a contingency of people who, during the holidays, have seen gnomes, demons, little creatures, poltergeist activity, and it's happened during the winter solstice. This night, the darkest night of the year, people have had experiences with gnomes, poltergeists, wolves, strange creatures, werewolves. I mean, Christmas used to be a time for a lot of werewolf stories too. Werewolves, Krampus, werewolves, Yeti, Wendigo, beasts, gnomes, elves. So, coming up, I'm going to tell you something that you may not believe, and you may have had the experience. I'd like to hear from you about your winter solstice experiences, because it can get a little scary on the darkest night of the year. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. Yeah, Christmas time is here again. You're listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. Happy solstice, everybody. So here we are at the solstice. It's the longest night of the year. We're going to have some fun with it tonight. I hope you're enjoying the program because, it's the last program we're going to do. And then we come back after Christmas. We'll be here on Boxing Day, of all times. Boxing Day, of course, is when we unwrap the presents. Anyway, tonight I wanted to just talk about, why the darkest day is always the scariest scariest day of the year, really, next to Halloween. And we were talking about Gryla, we were talking about the witch, and we were talking about the Yule lads and all the demons and the infernal chase and all this stuff. The reason why I am bringing up Gryla and the Yule lads and the little gnomes and all these creatures is because recently, and I'm not kidding, recently there was a peculiar story that was submitted by Stephen Wagner, who's a paranormal researcher who has had the uncanny interest of, get this, collecting stories about the appearances of trolls like, witches like Gryla, trolls, shadow people, black-eyed children, gnomes, Yule lads, and even Santa himself on Christmas. I'm not kidding. According to Wagner, people have actually seen apparitions of Santa in their homes around Christmas time. I mean, it's like a paranormal investigation story, really. It's no different than talking about man with a black hat. It's no different than talking about the black-eyed children. I mean, these reports run from the wondrous to the frankly creepy, and one has been told, I went through all the lists and got the best stories I could about these people that have seen these shadowy figures on the solstice, or at least Santa Claus on Christmas Eve in their houses when they were kids. Now, I gave you my interesting story the other night where the guy showed up, and he was kind of like a makeshift Santa. I don't know where he came from. He's this big, tall dude, wearing the smock and the fake beard. I mean, I didn't even know who the guy was. He had these Coke bottle glasses. You could barely see out of these Coke bottle glasses. And he was wearing the hat and he had the beard. And I swear it had to have been the real Santa, or at least someone who, just showed up. Some weird dude that just showed up from out of the fog and delivered toys to me. But people have actually seen apparitions of these gnomes or these weird creatures, and I'm asking if you've seen anything weird on solstice, or anything in your house around Christmas time that just makes you go, what the hell? What was this? So, first report, told by a woman named Carrie Kay, who claims that in 1961, she went to bed on Christmas Eve and was awoken by her bedroom door slowly creaking open to allow the light from the nightlight in the hall to trickle in and then illuminate quite a bizarre sight. And that is, she claimed that what she saw was a man in a red suit. He had white trim around his waist like fur, a long white beard, and he was wearing a Santa hat. He had red pants on, he had black boots on, the whole thing. She goes on to claim that he stood there and looked at her for a few seconds and then closed the door. She said the encounter terrified her as she drew the covers over her head. And then the next day, she claims that when she asked her mother and father about it, they felt it was time to talk to her about the truth about Santa Claus. They wanted to sit her down and say, the story. However, she said, no. I know that you're trying to tell me that, this is how it is, but I saw what I saw. I saw a man standing in the house with a white beard, white trimmed red suit, and black boots, wearing a hat. There's also perhaps an even stranger account given by a woman named Sarah A., who says her sighting happened at a very young age, but that it was it basically stayed with her into adulthood as clear as day. On this evening, the Christmas Eve, Sarah was sleeping on the floor as her aunt had been visiting and took her bed. Because of this, she was unable to really get into a deep sleep. At around 2:30 a.m., she noticed a faint glow coming in from the crack under the door. She got up, wandered to the door, opened it, and looked out into the hallway. She thought at first that what she saw was an angel. She then realized that it was a bearded man in a long coat. He looked nothing like the traditional Santa. He was hooded and in a very long tunic. Santa was standing in her door with a mystical, magical glow around him, and it was silver and gold and glittery. Santa looked right at her, and without moving his mouth, he said, telepathically, "Now you know you're supposed to be asleep while I'm here, don't you?" She told him that she knew that she was actually supposed to be asleep. He then said, "Close your eyes," and she went to sleep. He encouraged her to pretend to sleep. Another story, a strange encounter of the bizarre of Santa appearing in people's bedrooms. Have you ever had an experience with Santa or any other denizen of the night on the solstice? I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. It is the solstice, the winter solstice, darkest night of the year. You know, people have been having some strange sightings of, I just was giving you a few stories that Stephen Wagner compiled about people who, or little kids actually, when they were kids, actually saw Santa Claus in their house. And many different versions vary. I had an experience. I can't remember how long ago it was. It was back when I had two producers, Brian Trotter and Wes Scottco. We were driving home from doing the show. It was I would believe it was solstice, actually. We were driving home from doing the show, and I saw something that didn't belong in this area where we were driving over in Portland. We were on the highway. It was a freeway. It was about 12:30 in the morning because we were driving back from doing the show. It was frigid cold that night. It was really cold. And I was riding along with Brian Trotter and Wes Scottco, my producers. I noticed to the left of the freeway overpass near a narrow exchange between I-5 and I-84 what appeared to be a small person with pale skin wearing what looked like a black beanie hat or fez, and he wore black gloves, and he was trying to climb over the concrete embankment. Now, Brian Trotter, the driver of the vehicle, said that he saw what appeared to be a person with a backpack or luggage attempting to climb over the embankment. And what's most interesting is that if a person was successful in climbing over that side of the overpass, they would have fallen 20 feet onto a road or a railroad track below. And it was because the railroad tracks and the road would run parallel, and they probably would have been killed. Okay? The person was 3 to 4 feet tall, actually the height of the freeway concrete embankment, so that would have had to been like 3 to 4 feet tall, was slowly crawling up and over the embankment, and we immediately tried to find an exit off I-84, and that's a difficult corridor because there's not many exits on 84, so we had to hurry and find an exit to get off. We managed to exit off the freeway, and we drove to the Burnside Bridge, and then when we were able to go south to Morrison, and we wound our way back to the spot on the freeway where that thing or whatever it was had climbed over, and we were thinking it has to be somewhere. It's probably a homeless person or somebody trying to climb over the embankment. So we didn't see anybody in that area, but somebody would have had to have been there if they fell over the side. So we nervously laughed and said that we just saw a gnome. And of course, we were trying to ascertain what it could have been, using logic and reason, but we just couldn't figure out how a small person wearing a backpack, hat and gloves could maneuver over the bridge and not fall to their death. We were confused by this. So it would have been dangerous for us to back up on the freeway and then jump over to try and snap a picture. So we couldn't do that. And so then when I arrived home, I did a search for anything that would look like what we saw, and there was actually a society called the Gnome Society. Okay? And these are people that claim to have seen gnomes. They write about gnomes. They've seen them. They've seen them, lurking. There's actually a site that was dedicated to the Latin American version called the Duende. El Duende. Basically, or La Duende. Duende is the dweller that hides under the stairs. Okay. So, I mean, so it's worth noting that the Gnome Society even recently reported that, it says here, local officials are investigating a number of gnome sightings in the Graubünden canton of Switzerland after a local farmer photographed something that some people are claiming proves gnomes are real. Now, the pictures were posted, and I ought to repost this picture of someone who actually snapped a picture of a gnome that appeared in their house. And I know it sounds crazy, but it just as crazy as the sound of people seeing Santa Claus in their houses. But look, I didn't know that, that I would see something that looked like a gnome, and I didn't know that it would trigger so many people going to a website and basically filing their gnome sightings. And of course, there are a few people that joked about smoking weed or being drunk, but the fact is, while the thing we saw could have been explained away as a child or a homeless little person seemingly abandoned on a busy freeway, the reality is, though, the place is unsafe. And it was cold that night. Look, below the overpass was a 20-foot drop onto a busy railroad and traffic area. And the thing, whatever it was, did not belong there, obviously. I mean, it's easy to give into a paranormal explanation, and many were realizing what we were implying. We saw a gnome. We saw something that, is a little creature. And I know what I saw. I know it didn't belong there. And if it was a gnome or even a hallucination, the rest of the world has seen and even told stories of little people showing up in the most inappropriate of places. I mean, these are all Iceland stories, but they sometimes can transfer. I mean, they just send the chills down. I mean, did you ever see, I know many people who surf the internet, did you ever see that elf picture, that elf video that was sent in from Argentina? Yeah, you've seen it, haven't you? Yeah, Ron's going, he's seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, but oh my gosh. It's walking scissor-legged. Yeah, Ron's doing the walk. It's walking scissor-legged across the field. And these kids are screaming because, and and I can't believe it. It's got a pointy hat, walking scissor-legged across the field. These kids are screaming, and you know what? As silly as this sounds, it is the creepiest thing you'll ever see. Just a small it's walking scissor-legged across the field. It's not walking normally, it's walking scissor-legged. So whatever it was a damn good fake, or these kids were seeing something that was, and I know that gnomes, elves, Yule kids, Gryla, I mean, I know all these things, leprechauns even, they don't always top the list of my 14 topics to talk about. I mean, I don't always say, hey, tonight we're going to do a show about leprechauns, because, come on, leprechauns. But around Christmas time, the story of Santa Claus and his band of elves, we know they're fantasy. But what people don't realize is that they're based on legends of darker characters. Okay? They're based on Gryla. They're based on Krampus. They're based on the Yule Cat. They're based on the Yeti. They're based on the Wendigo. I mean, you're out in the forest and you hear something growling at you at night. And you're thinking Bigfoot, mountain lion, you're thinking something scary is going on. I mean, but, back during the times of Saturnalia and the Yule, and of course, what we're celebrating tonight, and that is the solstice. The stories range from hairy little people appearing under the stairs or beds during the winter months, demons that walk the earth leaving behind footprints in the snow. One particular story, I mean, I don't know if you noted, there's actually a story called The Demon of Devon. And while the demon isn't necessarily linked to Christmas, it's most certainly linked to a known winter gremlin called the Fachin, which is a one-leg jumping entity that would poison orchards and induce heart attacks if he was ever seen by a human being. In the winter of 1855, after a light snowfall, it was reported that hoof-like marks appeared in the snow. The footprints measured 1.5 to 2.5 inches wide and 8 inches apart. The footprints were seen throughout the countryside for a total of 100 miles, and even though they would veer off at various points, the greater part of the hoof prints were moving forward in a straight line. Some of these hoof tracks were seen going up walls, on rooftops, haystacks, and leading up to and even into various drain pipes that some say were only 4 inches in diameter. Villagers in the south side of Devon, England reported sightings of a horned devil-like figure walking around looking into windows. Now, that's another creature, too, that's spoken of at Christmas time, and that is the peeper. The peeper, a demon-like figure who peeps in on you while you're sleeping. Many townspeople armed themselves in Devon. They attempted to track down the beast responsible without success. Back in March of 2009, there was an article that was published called "Ancient Mystery Returns as Satan's hoofprints are spotted in Devon's back garden." Scientists from the Center of Fortean Zoology inspected the prints. This was back in 2009. The scientists from the Center for Fortean Zoology inspected the prints, which measure 5 inches long with a stride of between 11 and 17 inches. Some villagers blamed the church, who had recently changed the standard prayer book, for letting the devil into their communities. Others blamed animals, pranksters, and even a weather balloon, but the phenomenon described as the Great Devon Mystery was never explained. The prints did resemble those of a goat, and skeptics brought up the possibility that rabbits or even an escaped kangaroo from the local zoo may have caused them. Still, there was no explanation for why the curious hoofprints were found in the snow. This was 2009. And the demon of Devon was from the 1800s, but then they had another sighting of the footprints on 2009, these hoofprints. The prints resembled those of a goat. And we know that throughout the 19th century, there were always these tales of these demon-like characters in the snow. There was one called Spring-Heeled Jack, which is a small demonic gnome that was able to leap into the air and terrorize people. Some say that Spring-Heeled Jack was a horned, oily-skinned blue demon with a pointed head. Some say he spewed forth a blue flame from his mouth, and he had sandy, hooked claws that felt cold like a corpse. Once again, we're back to those wood gnomes. We're back to the forest demons. We're back to the infernal chase. Krampus, of course, German for the word hooks or claws. Krampus was a horned and hairy creature with claws that were covered in dirt. Krampus was originally known as the demon with the sandy claws, or the sandy hooks. The name evolved into the English Santa Claus. Sandy Claus, or Krampus, had huge sticks he would use to beat unruly children. Some were put into sacks and tossed into the river. Others were left at home. And there were times when Krampus would punish the parents of the children, blaming them for the bad behavior. Gryla would do the same thing. Gryla would actually, beat a child or would use a child in a stew. So we can dismiss these types of characters as all fantasies, but they're most certainly based on real fears and realities that were, at the time, unexplainable. And especially in the darkest time of the year, because you've got the dim light and play tricks on people, or we can still entertain the idea that there are beings that are interdimensional. They're somehow conjured or manifested when a group of people are expecting a darker outcome of things that frighten us or leave us caught up in the elusive mysteries of the season. People say, well, I don't believe in Santa Claus. And the primitive people would spin tall tales on saints like St. Nicholas, or even horned demons or little demonic goblins that can be found in ancient cultures and histories that are seldom talked about. But sometimes popular myths manifest. And so I'm asking you tonight, if anything strange has happened to you around Christmas, I'm talking strange paranormal stuff that's happening around Christmas time, because of course it is the solstice. And I'd love to hear your favorite ghost story tonight. So give us a call. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. The scary ghost stories and the tales of the glories of Christmases long time ago. Tonight on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. Love to hear your story tonight. We'll be back. The number's call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Tonight, as many of you well know, it is the winter solstice. It is the darkest night of the year. Darkness came early, and soon we'll see light coming early, but we have the shortest day today. And of course, when it is the shortest day, strange things happen, because in the darkness, especially anciently, a lot of things, a lot of tall tales and a lot of real sightings been submitted and talked about on this program tonight. I first started talking about Gryla, which of course Gryla is this witch from the Northlands who has what are known as the Yule Kids, which are children, invisible children that go like poltergeists through houses at night. And the reason why I bring it up is because I was watching the Sabrina Teenage Witch Midwinter Tale. And Gryla showed up and these poltergeists showed up. They had every character you could think of, from Gryla to the Yule Lads, these poltergeists. Krampus, of course, was there. But Krampus was actually was something else. It was kind of like there was a mall Santa who when he was a mall Santa he was great, and then of course he turned into Krampus at night and he would turn kids into wax figures. So, it got me reading on some of the legends other than Krampus. And even though Krampus is my favorite, Gryla is a second because she's kind of like Perchta. I'll tell you about Perchta coming up as well. I mean, there's just a number of different characters, and they all seem to have the same, they have the same attitude about kids, the bad kids. And there were also some other stories that I picked up on. The shadow people, the black-eyed children, gnomes, Yule Lads, Santa. There have been people, according to writer Stephen Wagner, there are a lot of people that have actually, when they were kids, seen apparitions of Santa in their homes around Christmas time. I don't know if any of you have had any, what we call paranormal experiences at Christmas time. I mean, it's full of paranormal experiences. People just don't talk about them. Either dead loved ones have showed up, or you've gotten a phone call from somebody or whatever. But the really creepy stories of Santa appearing to kids at night. And I went through a few stories. There was also a story about a 37-year-old guy. 37-year-old guy certainly saw Santa one evening as he was walking outside his apartment complex on a chilly evening. I think this happened in Illinois, actually, another Illinois sighting. Of course, being 37, he says that he was a little too old to believe in Santa, but as he was dumping trash in the dumpster, a man was walking on the sidewalk. He was a chubby old man with long, snow-white hair and a long white beard, round glasses, wearing a green flannel shirt, blue jeans, and red suspenders. So the guy actually went outside, and he dumped something in the dumpster, and this other man with white hair and a white beard, wearing blue jeans, green flannel shirt, and red suspenders, walked up to him and said, "Hey, Richard. How you doing, Richard?" And the guy this guy Richard said, he called me by my name. I didn't know who the hell he was. And then, of course, the kid stories of the one witness, one girl named Anna said that she was 5 years old. She crept downstairs after hearing something moving around downstairs, and to her surprise, she was met with Santa Claus standing there in her living room, complete with red, black, and white outfits, snow white beard. But she says this, she says, there was nothing jolly or jovial about this Santa. And indeed, he seemed to emanate a certain sense of creeping dread. She said that this Santa eerily looked at her as if he was peering directly into her soul. So it's not always, fun and games when you go downstairs and you see something that you think is Santa Claus. In fact, I remember talking with Bud Hopkins one time, and Bud Hopkins is the guy that's taken a lot of, he's passed away now, but he used to take a lot of eyewitness accounts of abductions, right? And he was saying that there were so many stories of abductions that include characters like a penguin, for example. He said that one woman was abducted, and she said she was embarrassed to tell him, but when she was abducted by the aliens or whatever they were, she said she woke up out of a coma. She was like out, and then she woke up and looked up, and there was a penguin looking down at her. And she didn't want to tell anybody because she felt that she'd be embarrassed to say that a penguin was looking down at her. There was another account where Santa Claus shows up at this house with aliens, mind you, and basically says, "It's okay, we need to take you north of here." And she thought, oh, this is some Christmas dream I'm having. But no, Santa Claus turned out to not be Santa, but some other alien as well. So, I know it sounds outrageous, but you know what's weird is if anyone was to come to me and they were to say that, they had an abduction experience and Santa showed up, it kind of reminds me of that episode of, Star Trek, where Abraham Lincoln just shows up. And they don't know why he shows up. He just shows up. It's the same idea. It's like Santa Claus, Mickey Mouse, Abraham Lincoln, anybody could show up in any abduction experience, and depending on just the attitude and the context, it could be the creepiest damn thing ever. Have you ever seen the, City of Lost Children? I don't know if anybody has ever seen that movie. But it's not necessarily a Christmas movie, but the music sounds kind of Christmassy. But there's a scene where a little baby is in its crib, and you see this Santa Claus come through the chimney, or come down the chimney into the fireplace. And it's this really emaciated Santa with these bulging eyes, and he comes out, he's got a beard, and he's looking down at the kid. And then another one comes out, and another one comes out, and another one comes out. And so the whole room is loaded with these emaciated Santa Clauses. It is the most terrifying thing you'll ever see. I mean, one Santa's fine, I guess, but like a clown, too many of them, it's terrifying. And there are a lot of kids, their first Santa experience is a terrifying experience. You put you on Santa's knee, and they cry. And Santa can be very creepy to some kids. Maybe it's because they know of Santa's background. I mean, he comes from the land of the gnomes, the elves, the leprechauns, all those things I say. They're not 14 topics you talk about all that much because they're limited to the holidays. And of course, saying that anyone's seen a Santa Claus or some sort of a strange being on the solstice, I mean, it's not out of the question because, look, gnomes, if you look at the ancient cultures, gnomes were considered to be shapeshifters. And they would change their bodies in order to meet their needs. There was something called the tontut or the tomtenis, which were these small, elderly, full white beard dressed in the everyday clothing of a farmer-type gnome. And the word tomte actually means home dweller. Remember I was talking about the duende or el duende, the home dweller or the dweller under the stairs? That's the Latino version. But there were folk tales that say that the tomte are these bearded creatures with one eye. In Denmark, the tontut are often seen as beardless, wearing gray and red woolens with red caps. And since these nieces are thought to be skilled in illusions and sometimes are able to make themselves invisible, this is where you get the Yule lads. This is where you get Gyla. This is where you get these things showing up. And you've heard the stories. People have told you these stories before where, there's this place where you can put your car in neutral and it'll push you up the hill. If you put flour on the front of your car, you'll see the hands of these little children that died in a bus crash. Well, these little Yule lads do the same thing. I mean, I never really had an interest in gnomes because our imagination has been limited with them showing up in gardens as decorative and fairy tale-like statues. However, the more you dig through the tales of folklore, you find yourself in a very dark place. As gnomes have been associated with all kinds of paranormal activity, including ghoulish behavior, which includes caring for and eating the dead. Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. Think about that for a moment. The prince was in love with a beautiful maiden whose skin was snow white and whose lips were bright red. He would look upon her face through glass, and as her corpse her corpse was there in a crystal coffin. The story is literally a tale of a person who loves corpses. It's necrophilia. I mean, it's also a tale of vampirism because the prince is able to revive her from the dead by kissing her, and in some cases it can be a little bit more detailed as to what it is. But there's also an Italian story called The Crystal Casket, which talks of a young maiden named Emilina, who is guarded by gnomes, similar to the dwarfs. And then a witch comes and poisons the girl because of her beauty, and then the gnomes place the young girl in a crystal casket that is placed on the back of a horse. The horse rides from town to town with the body of the young girl on it, hoping to find the person who can break the spell. And a lonely king happens to see the body of the girl, falls in love with her, and tells everyone that she will be his wife. The king's family does not want to tell the king that his girlfriend is dead, and so they play along and tell the others that the girl is a large doll. The king's family is a little concerned, because the girl, she doesn't seem to be normal, right? And the king tells his family that, I'm going to lead an army to war, and that's when he returns and he says, I'm going to marry my girlfriend when I get back. Unfortunately, when the king returns, the body of this young maiden is so decomposed. Her skin is dusty, and there are flies and maggots and It's just a horrible story. But these are the stories they used to tell these little kids. And, of course, what do the gnomes do with the body of the girl? Well, you can just imagine. You know, the gnomes are not very nice. They're shapeshifters, they're diabolical, they're evil, and they used to run through the night in the North Woods with Gryla and several other creatures, including Krampus. The chase infernal, the infernal chase, the chase through hell, the descendants of these little creatures coming in the north. That's the solstice, the darkest night of the year. I'd like to hear your stories if you've had any strange paranormal stories that have happened on the solstice around Christmas time. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Tonight is the solstice. Happy solstice to all of you. And Christmas will be off that night, so we're kind of kicking out the jams and talking about Krampus and Gryla and the Yuletide lads and all the scary stuff of Christmas and the innocence of children. Some interesting comparisons tonight. We go now to Sarah in Oregon. Hi, Sarah, on Ground Zero.
Hi there. A while ago, you mentioned the Feast of the Holy Innocents.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that it was in remembrance of the children who have died.
Yes.
And you may also know that it is a very specific feast day in at least the Catholic churches, maybe others, December 28th. And they are the children who, after Herod had told the Magi to come and tell him where Jesus was so he could have him killed, and they didn't do it, he was so mad he killed all of the children, all of the male children to him below. Well, those are the Holy Innocents. And the Catholic Church, we know how bloody they are. I mean, they're the ones that invented statues of Mary with knives in the hearts. And they love to dwell on that. But with the Holy Innocents, it gets to be kind of a pretty thing, because while most babies born and then dying without being baptized, at least until Pope Francis got rid of limbo anyway, they would go to limbo and never get to go to heaven or anything else. But God supposedly took them right up into heaven because they were martyred. And that is why we call them the Holy Innocents, and they're not in limbo. They're saints, in fact. So you get your child sacrifice taken yet another religion with child sacrifice in it around this time of the year.
See, it's always the medieval thing, right? And it was all about nothing more than being afraid of the dark. That's why they did it, because they made a deal with the evil, with the demons, with the darker spirits, and they said, if we are to offer blood, if we are to offer our children, will you bring us the sun back? And so it was something called Sol Invictus, or the forever sun, meaning the promise would be, yes, we bring the sun back. And isn't it interesting how the story of Jesus at Christmas time is the story of a child that was eventually sacrificed so all the children of God wouldn't have to meet that fate? Isn't that kind of weird?
And plenty were sacrificed along the way, and plenty have been sacrificed since.
True. Sarah, thank you for the call. Thank you. Happy solstice. That's amazing. That the way the story kind of comes together and interlocks. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis. It is the night of Gryla. It is the winter solstice on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. Tonight is the night where it's always the witching hour. Children are advised not to sleep tonight because it is one of the scariest nights of the year. More so than Halloween, actually, the winter solstice. 888-673-3700. Have you had a weird experience around the solstice, around Christmas time? There have been a lot of them that I've been reading tonight. Just want to know what your experiences have been. Let's go to TJ in Rhode Island. Hi, TJ. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Merry Christmas to you, Janine, Liam, et al. I already said it to Ron, and I agonized about calling him because I had a scary story.
Okay.
And there are people who are close to me who don't even have this information, but it's wondrous and dreadful. I think the earth shuddered and groaned, to be honest with you. And so my solstice story to you is, this is the day that I was born, and here we are all these decades later together on the radio.
Wow.
Now, you can't get scarier than that, Clyde. You said it was a scary day.
It is a scary day.
Yeah,
Man.
take my word for
I don't take you as a scary gnome, but you, I mean, it is the darkest day. Are you dark? I guess maybe bringing you on is kind of a dark thing, don't you think?
Oh, yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. That's why. But I agonize. Like I said, a lot of people don't even know my birthday, but yes, today it is.
Today, you were born on the solstice. I mean,
it was the 22nd in the year I was born, yeah.
So you were a solstice baby.
Yes, so that tells you something. Those are the type of people you're going to get who are born.
I know a guy, and he always reminds me, he's a friend of mine, his name's Dave, and he always reminds me that he was born on Saturnalia. And he says, in the story he tells, this amazing story, he says that his father worked on the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
And he would every year dress up like Santa Claus. And he always told the story about how Santa helped build the atomic bomb.
Oh my God!
And it always floored me because because it was a great story. It was like, Santa helped build the atomic bomb. It was his father who was on the Manhattan Project, and that he was born on Saturnalia. And he talks about, of course, Jack Parsons. And he talks about, the strange thing that was going on with Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard. But he said that it was his father that worked on the Manhattan Project, and he looked like Santa. He had a beard and white hair, and he'd dress up every year, and he'd always tell people, "I'm Santa, and I helped build the atomic bomb."
Well, now you know why NORAD watches that sleigh.
No kidding. That's what I'm thinking. NORAD watches that sleigh because anytime Santa can strap one of those, those big Satan bombs on the end of his sleigh and fire, and that's the thing. I mean, they got to make sure that he's okay. But it just gave me. It's kind of creepy and it's kind of cool all at the same time, like the atomic Santa. It's like there's, just imagining, Santa Claus in the times of the Cold War. It was just too weird. It's like Santa was a spy for Truman or something. I don't know.
Well, now you know it's either fission or fusion power. It's not reindeer that pushes that sleigh around the world.
No. Nuclear power coming out of those reindeer, man, I'll tell you.
That's it.
Don't want to be downwind from those.
Well, like I said, you don't want to be anywhere near it. And now you know why you can see it in the dark, too.
That's true. Anyway, man, great stories. Thank you, TJ, for calling tonight. Okay, Merry Christmas, Happy Solstice. Let's go to Alex in Ohio. Hi, Alex. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde.
Hi.
I got a solstice story for you.
Okay.
And it's concerning a dead body in a cabin eaten by shrews.
Oh, my God.
Now, if you think of Go ahead.
I'm saying, oh, my God, that sounds terrifying, eaten by shrews. Go ahead.
Well, it connects to your gnomes because in the northern climes, there were little critters in the winter that eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a dead body and a family that froze to death in the cabin, or someone who died, you can't always bury them in the ground.
So are you saying that, oh, this is amazing. I've never heard this before. So you're saying that maybe the stories of the gnomes come from the stories of the shrews eating the bodies?
Yes, and I'll give you a better one.
Okay, cool.
And this is even creepier, so you'll really love it. A number of cases where rats have invaded morgues and fed on the dead bodies. There's a case in D.C. around 2010 where the rats were even crawling into body openings and eating in the morgue.
This would be also a weird connection to the Nutcracker. You know how? Because the toy maker that made the toys actually made the Nutcrackers. It made them robotic soldiers to fight the mice. Isn't that weird?
Got it. And mice will eat meat too, including dead bodies.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
To the gnomes.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense that they wouldn't know. about the shrews, but they know that maybe creatures would come down. I mean, all those Hans Christian Andersen stories about, Snow White and about, the German stories of Snow White or Hansel and Gretel, the woman in the house, she made the gingerbread house and she, all those stories of, it comes from Saturn, actually. I mean, I don't know if you know about Saturn and how the story of Saturn and Kronos is that the Saturn every year would hold a feast and he would bring his kids or his children to the feast and then he would choose some of them to eat and that he would use a scythe to actually, do them in. And the thing that's interesting is if you look at Father Time is this bearded guy, looks like Santa Claus. It's this bearded guy, but he holds a scythe, and everybody wonders why he holds a scythe. And it's because of the fact that every year when we celebrate the new year, when we celebrate the Feast of Saturnalia, we celebrate because Father Kronos decided not to eat us this year. He decided not to use his scythe and lop off our heads and eat us. So we are celebrating, and it's been, centuries, thousands of years, we have celebrated the fact that Kronos did not kill us this year. That he did not eat us this year.
In the northern climes, Clyde, it was also common for a lot of children to die this time of year.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, in some societies, you didn't even get your name until you were 6 because of the death rates.
Well, wasn't it that I was talking the other night about Dickens saying that, because he had the kids show up in the Christmas Carol underneath the Ghost of Christmas Present's cloak. And he said that it was the forebearer of the children that would either become psychotic or wind up, the women would wind up being, hags and whores. And he said the reason why is because if they survived at all, being as poor as they were, they would die between the ages of 5 and 10. And if they survived, they would end up either being broke or the women would end up being, women of the night. Because they were so poor, they couldn't afford to live. And so that's why they called them ignorance and want. But he was pointing at the idea that, when Tiny Tim was supposed to die, he said that Tiny Tim would have died if Scrooge didn't do anything to help him, because most children that were like that died at early ages, and that the specter of the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come was actually taken from the French depiction of death, which was also a representation of Saturn or Kronos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you have some time, do some investigation of the Norwegian wharf rat, your true gnome.
Okay. I will. Once again, Alex, you've opened my mind. I never would have thought that gnomes could actually, be actually mistaken as shrews or rats. That makes a lot of sense. It really does. But then, the evolution.
On the dead.
What's that?
Especially since those critters feed on the dead in the winter.
That's true.
But that's the only food source.
Amazing, Alex. Never thought of it that way. But I appreciate the call.
Bye.
Thank you. Let's go to Luana in Oregon. Hi, Luana. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde.
Hey.
I have been listening to you almost every night when I get off work. I work at the VA Veterans Hospital in Portland.
Okay.
And you're pretty inspirational, and I do learn a lot from you.
Thank you.
However, I don't remember you ever talking about the Hat Man.
Oh, I talked about the Hat Man. Omu Negru. Talked about the Hat Man. Yes, go ahead.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because we had one in our shop. And I didn't realize that's what it was. Nobody wanted to go in the shop. My daughter almost got pushed down the stairs. I had things flying across the room because the shop had all the tools, and it was just me and my kids there. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because during certain times of the year, I feel certain energies and things, like even the trees, you feel their energies. Mm-hmm. And the shop where supposedly the Hat Man resides, it's like not a jokester, but he tries to get people worked up. And I had a paranormal investigation team come in, and I used to work with them, and I said, I will join your team if you investigate my shop, because no one wants to go in there because things happen in there. Mm-hmm. And things happen outside of there. I got my hair pulled. I've gotten pushed. My daughter almost got pushed down the stairs. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And everybody was like, really in bad moods. Like, they would like pick fights with each other. And so the paranormal team set up all their cameras, their bright lights, and we got a picture actually of the Hat Man. It's like a shadow. And I'm like, that almost looks like one of my animatronics. But he was off to the side. We moved everything off to the side. So I almost think he can imitate things. But it made total sense. My daughter from California, she called me and said, Mom, that picture you posted is the Hat Man. I looked him up. I'm like, what's the Hat Man? And I realized that there were certain days of the year that he was more active than others. And he tries to get people worked up and fighting and, acting hostile. And, there was a lot of stuff that happened there. And so I just wanted to get your take on the Hat Man because I had never dealt with him before.
Well, the Hat Man is actually, once again, a story that's evolved over time. There's also the Grinning Man. And of course, there's, Slender Man. They all come from the same, I believe, they come from the same archetype that Carl Jung had talked about, the dark archetype that comes from inside of us. Somewhere out there, these things manifest, and Hat Man is definitely one of them. I had a friend of mine who is from Romania, and he told me that their version of Hat Man was Omul Negru. Omul Negru was like the black man or the dark man. And
right. It's like a shadow. We have a picture of it. I actually, I've been on 3 paranormal teams, right. And I tend to be clairvoyant. I pick up energies. I can go and do a walkthrough in a house.
Right.
But when you live somewhere, you get so used to the energies, you can't really differentiate. And I would tell the kids, it's like, well, you don't have to go in the shop.
Have you ever,
in the house, right. There were certain parts of the house, like the laundry room, even people that had never been in my house didn't want to go in there.
Have you ever seen the Babadook? Have you ever seen the movie The Babadook?
About,
yeah.
He is about wreaking havoc and actually pitting people against each other. Working on their bad emotions.
Well, I got to tell you that we're running out of time, but I want to ask you, have you seen the movie The Babadook?
No.
You should see that film. It'll probably generate some memories of the Hat Man, because the Babadook, the Omul Negru, the Hat Man, the Grinning Man, the Rake, several of these characters are all representations of basically the same archetype, and that is a very dark, sinister force that appears, that does create the problems you're talking about. And yes, they do appear in times of, for example, the equinox, the solstice, especially the solstice, because the winter solstice is the darkest time of the year. So many people have these experiences at this time of the year, and they just don't talk about them because they don't want to ruin people's Christmases, because that's what Christmas is.
What I was told was, when I did research, and my daughter did research, she lived in California, and she was sending me this information, that they appear when they feel there is friction.
Yes, and they appear.
They actually work on the men.
Right.
To actually annihilate the women and children.
They prey on the men, and the men become depressed, and the men sometimes go psychotic, and they do kill. It's just a scary, scary time. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. Let's go to Camden in Connecticut. Hi, Camden. Happy solstice. You're on Ground Zero.
There's a shadowy angel in my room.
There was a shadowy angel in your room, or there is a shadowy angel in your room?
There is.
There is a shadowy angel in your room?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
Can you describe him for me?
It's faceless. It's black. And it can only be seen in mirrors.
It can only be seen in mirrors?
Here's what I found on them.
Yeah.
My phone just activated. Okay. Hold on a second. Wow. The longest night, it says on my phone. So you're saying that this angel, what are you doing? Where are you?
I'm sitting in my bed.
Are you trying to contact this scary looking angel or whatever it is, this dark angel?
It's just sitting there doing, it looks like it's praying or something.
Looks like it's praying?
Yeah.
Has it tried to communicate with you?
It looks like it's mouthing something, I can't really tell what it's saying.
Are you in the dark?
No.
You can't tell what it's saying, do you?
No.
Call out to it.
Hello?
Call out to it. Is it saying anything to you?
It says that it's my Aunt Karen.
It's calling to your Aunt Karen?
It's telling me that it's my Aunt Karen.
Did your Aunt Karen die?
No, she died.
She did die?
Yeah.
We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
You're listening to Ground Zero. Okay, so something happened during that last call, and I wanted to go back to it. Something that definitely we picked up on, and Ron and I are both like, we're trying to figure out what happened. So this guy called in, and he was saying that he's seeing this ghost in his house, or this. I don't know what was going on with him. He didn't sound like he was well. I don't know what's happening. So as he's talking, my phone activated, okay? And it activated on Siri, just started talking. And so I turned it off. And I don't know why, because, see, I have my phone now. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Calls will be silenced and notifications will appear in Notification Center. So I put that on my phone because people would call or they'd ring the phone, or I'd get a message and it'd ding during the show. I just got tired of that. So I just decided, hey, I'm going to turn my phone to Do Not Disturb. Well, my phone activated. Okay, when he said that, I guess it was his aunt that died or somebody that died, he said he thinks that was who. It says it was an angel in his house praying, a dark angel trying to mouth words to him or what have you. So my phone activates during the call, okay? And I looked down and it sent me to Wikipedia, pre-Christian Alpine traditions. And it was linked to Perchta, which of course is like Gaila, okay? Perchta, and this is the definition, is originally the word Perchten, plural of Perchta, referred to the female mass representing the entourage of the ancient goddess Frau Perchta, or Peta Baba, as is known in Slovenia. Some claim a connection to the Nordic goddess Freya, though this is uncertain. Now, Freya or Freya is actually where we get the word Friday. Freya, okay? So something, the goddess Freya or Friday, okay, said, traditionally the masks were displayed in procession Perchtenlauf during the last week of December and first week of January, in particular on January 6th. The costume consists of a brown wooden mask and a brown or white sheepskin. In recent times, Krampus and Perchten have increasingly been displayed in a single event, leading to a loss of a distinction of the two. Perchten are the Perchten meaning a plural of Perchta. Perchten are associated with midwinter and the embodiment of fate and the souls of the dead. Because remember that guy was talking about the dead before? The guy was talking about that? The name originates from the old High German word meaning brilliant or bright, like an angel. But it's certainly not an angel. It's ugly, whatever it is. Sometimes Der Teufel is viewed to be the most Shiach or ugly. Percht, what's that? Oh, you posted? Okay. So Ron has just posted this picture of what we see, or what was sent to me when the phone was activated. And I'm going to take a look at that right now. It's on Facebook. Okay, so the phone was activated, and the picture was sent and I had Ron take a picture of the phone, just so people can see. It's an old picture, and it's really creepy. It's an old picture of what looks like a demon. A guy dressed as a demon, and then this hideous creature that I guess is Perkta, but it's covered in a hunched over picture. And so this is the phone. This is what the phone picked up. It was on Wikipedia. And this is stuff that you just want to say, screw it. I don't want to do the rest of the show anymore. Seriously. I mean, I don't know who that guy, what was that guy's name? Camden. And he was calling from Connecticut, right? Did you talk to him after, Ron? Did you talk to him after? He hung up. Okay, now,
a woman's voice.
Say that again?
There was a woman's voice when he was actually talking. It was sort of a mumbling sound, but it was female.
Okay. Well, I was noticing some strange sounds coming from the phone tonight when he was talking about that. But my phone, I don't know if Andy's busy tonight because we got to do a lot of Christmas stuff for the weekend.
Probably get it.
Oh, is he going to try and get it? Is he going to try and get the stuff that went down? Okay, so again, we have another person who's called the program who claims that in his house at the time he called was some sort of he says it's a solstice angel, a dark angel, or whatever. He said he thought it was his aunt trying to speak to him, trying to mouth the words to him, or whatever it was. My phone activated, okay? It was Siri that activated, and Siri said, here's your request for what you were looking for, Alpine. And I didn't ask Siri about that. Alpine traditions. So obviously somebody's overhearing my conversation on the phone right now. So it's certainly like it's been, like remember the other night we were talking about how these damn phones can eavesdrop on you and come up with stuff and then now. So he's calling about his whatever it was. And then, oh my God, this is creepy. People are now, they're now commenting on this picture. This is the weirdest damn picture. And this is the picture that Siri sent me. Siri sent me this picture, okay? And it's on Wikipedia, and I'm trying to find it outside of my phone, and I can't. I'm sure it's on there. I think, if I look up Perkta, see, P-E-R-C-H-T, Perkten, and go to images. Nope, they're all Krampus images. If you type in, okay, go to Google, for those of you at home, Perchten, Christmas, okay? And that's what Google filled in the blank. I'm looking and all I see are Krampus pictures. Oh, wait a minute, there it is. There it is. Oh my God, there's the picture right there. That's the one right there. It's from Wikipedia. That's the same one. And there's another one. It looked, oh my God, this was even creepier. This is one with a hunched over, horned goat-looking figure. Oh, these are like really scary. And then there are children with their shoes off and swords. Oh, this is creepy stuff. Man, I'll just post all these pictures. I mean, these are the ones that, oh my God, they're just creepy. Oh, let's see if I can save this one. This is a creepy picture. Okay, so we're going to save this picture, and I'm going to post this picture. Let's see. Monster Google. Okay, so I'm going to put that one up in a minute. But if you want to go to the Facebook page, it's facebook.com/Ground Zero Radio. You'll see it, and Ron took a screenshot of my phone. This is the image that was activated by Siri when Camden called from Connecticut. And I heard some strange stuff too, but I didn't know where it was coming from, and it was probably coming from him, but it's just too weird that this guy called and he said what he was saying, and he started to get a little emotional, and then it started happening. So, okay. We're going to go to do we have time? Okay, we're going to go to calls. Let's go to calls. Let's go to Matthew in Kentucky. Hi, Matthew. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. How you doing, buddy?
I'm scared.
I am too. I'm sitting here on Facebook looking at the picture you just put there. Oh my God.
Oh my God. What is that picture?
Oh my God, that's crazy, man. That is awesome. Wow.
I'm wondering it's online. It's online, and I saw it after I did a search, but if you type in Perctin, I forgot how to spell it again. Anyway, I can't. I'm trying to do this and do my show at the same time. Okay, here we go. Perctin.
Oh, I understand.
Percten. Perctin. I know it's a German word for, it's Percta?
Yeah, Percta.
Okay, Ron's saying it's Percta. So it's Perctin, Percta.
It's Percta.
Right, okay, Percta. Let's look at Percta. Okay, Ron's not talking to me. Yep, it's Percta. It wasn't Perctin, it was Percta. That's where the picture is. Percta.
Perchta. That's what I'm looking at, too.
Oh, my God.
That's not what I called about, but I was sitting here while you were just talking, and I was listening to I was taking out the Facebook page with the photo. Oh, my God, this is awesome, Clyde.
It's just too scary. That was awesome.
I know, right?
Scary.
I'm kind of freaked out. I'm kind of freaked out about it. I'm right there with you, man. I was calling to tell you about the gnomes. My wife's got several gnomes at her house, and this is a little creepier than they are.
Yeah, well, tell me about the gnomes. Let's get my mind off of this incident that just took place. Tell me about the gnomes around your house. I want to hear about them.
Well, my wife, over the years, we've bought a few gnomes. My wife, she's kind of eclectic on things, so we have this little Harley Davidson gnome outside that sits out front, and well, it kind of got decapitated somehow. I don't know how, but its head's popped off, and it's sitting on one side of our porch, and the head's on the other side of the yard. And my kids are only here during like the weekends, and then I have a gnome in my basement. And the gnome in my basement is sitting. Well, I have a bar room, so I've kind of got the pool table, I got my dartboard and all that stuff. Well. I got a couple nice windowsills. Well, the gnome sits on my bar.
Okay.
Right, so I set it on my bar, and I went down there the very next week, and it's sitting in one of my windowsills. So I asked my wife, did she move it? She said she never touched it, and the kids have not been in the house. We have 4 boys. We basically only have them, and they haven't even been here. And it's sitting in my windowsill. So I move it back to my bar top up on the shelf where I have it next to my TV and all that stuff. And the very next week, again, it's sitting in one of the other windowsills. So I'm thinking my wife is just messing with me, and she swears up and down she's never touched it. So when you started talking about gnomes earlier tonight, it's like, oh, my God, I have to call you because, I'm a truck driver. I've been listening to you for a long time. I love you. You are awesome. Please keep up all the good work you always do.
Well, I appreciate you calling, and I thank you for telling your story because, things are weird on the solstice. And the fact that it's getting darker. It's here in the Pacific. It's 10:20, and
yeah, y'all are 3 hours behind me.
Yeah, so you're Eastern time, aren't you?
Yes, I'm on Eastern Standard.
So it's after midnight for you.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 1:19 in the morning. I just got off work a couple hours ago.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, it's like, what, did this happen? This happened, oh, my gosh, this happened around, oh, my God, as we leave solstice. I don't know. I'm shaking, Matthew. Thank you, man. Thank you for calling. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Like I said, I was sitting there looking at your profile, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is just like, you're pulling up other stuff, and I'm freaking out watching this stuff on the picture from your phone. I'm like, this is amazing.
It is amazing. It's weird. I appreciate the call.
No, definitely, Clyde. I love you guys. Y'all keep doing the good work and keep everything up. And me and all my brothers out here truck driving all over the East Coast, West Coast, everywhere. We'll keep listening to you, brother.
Well, thanks for what you do, buddy. Thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you.
Take care.
You too, man. Merry Christmas.
All right, bye-bye. Bye. Joanne writes, at the same time you had problems, I started having trouble with the camera and TSL apps on my phone, on my iPhone. My camera went black and froze. TSL kept shutting Clyde off. I turned the phone off, and now everything seems to be okay. So something shot through the phone lines to interfere with the show. Clyde, I'm a skeptic by nature, but that call gave me the creeps. I heard something go through the phone lines. What the? Yeah, okay. I heard a noise. Okay, somebody said here, I heard a noise like a growl or yowl or something right after you mentioned that your phone turned on and you asked the guy to talk to the entity. He said hello, and then I definitely heard something and then some faint talking in the background on his end, like a sentence or two. I wasn't really paying attention, but it sounded like a female voice. Heard something near the end of the call. Holy cow, I heard something when your phone went off okay. All right, we're going to take a break. Take a break and find out what's going on. See if we can go back and figure out what happened here. Either way, we'd love to hear your scary solstice stories tonight. We've got one right now that we're kind of blown away by. And also, take a look at that picture that's on the Facebook page. Facebook.com/Ground Zero Radio. This is either an elaborate prank or this is really, really creepy. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. You're listening to Ground Zero. Spinal Tap. Christmas with the Devil. Happy solstice, everybody. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Just trying to figure out what the hell happened here. Again, we had a strange phone call tonight. A guy said that his name was Camden. He was from Connecticut. Saying that his aunt, he said he saw a ghost in his room, or not a ghost, he saw an angel in his room, a dark angel for the solstice, he said. I asked him, I thought he said it was in his room. He said it is in his room. He tried to communicate with it, and just before he communicated with it, my phone turned on, and it was Siri telling me she found a picture of something, and I saw it, and I posted on Facebook. But then he continues to talk with this, whatever it was, and I started hearing weird voices in my headphones. It's just a creepy night, and it's solstice night, right here on Ground Zero. I don't know. What did you hear? What did you hear? Oh, man. 888. I mean, have you ever had any strange stories happen to you on the solstice? We have strange things happen here all the time, I guess. Oh, man, it hurts. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. It's dark out there. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Numbers call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Whatever happened tonight is pretty spooky. A lot of people calling tonight saying something happened to them when Camden called the program tonight. Camden from Connecticut. We're still analyzing the recording of his call. Maybe we'll have a bite of it later on, but we're still analyzing his call to find out what happened and how everything. Here's something from Facebook tonight. Listened to you for about 4 years now. This is a guy named Damien. Damien says, listened to you for about 4 years now. Love your show. You're amazing. Recently, I had an odd dream with a creature that had a face that reminded me of a Montauk monster. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Starting that morning, the following days, after a name kept popping up in my head. It was so persistent that I looked it up. Amon. A-M-O-N. Amon. Or Amon. Now, in the dream, the creature bit my leg and laughed. That's when I woke up. My ability to research Amon or Ammon is limited, so I'm just wondering what you can tell me about or shed some light on who Ammon is. Well, I'll tell you who Ammon is. He is the Marquis of Hell. He is the Marquis of Hell. He governs 40 infernal legions in hell. He's the seventh spirit of, he's one of the goetic demons in Solomon's time. Ammon, or Amon. And he is known as the Marquis of Hell and governs 40 legions in the infernal abyss of hell. So you've been dreaming of a very, very scary, very, very powerful demon. One of the head demons, I guess. He's the Marquis, and he basically is the ruler of legions of demons. That is very a powerful thing, I guess. I'm still trying to figure out what happened tonight, and I'm going to go to the calls too. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I am actually doing research right now as we speak, so I can get you more information on what happened. But I mean, that's the solstice for you. By the way, I found out there's going to be a full moon tomorrow. And so that's another interesting coincidence with regard to what's going on tomorrow after the solstice. Hold on one second. Janine's sending me something. 888-673-3700. Oh, that's cute. 888-673-3700. She sent me a cat in a Santa suit. Are we already going to a break, or what's going on here? Okay, we're not supposed to be going to a break right now, are we? Oh, okay. That just started out of nowhere, I guess. Okay. We're going to go to the phones right now. I mean, okay. Are we? I'm not. Okay. All right. I'm confused. That's why I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just confused. Yeah. Well, okay. But you go at the time. I'm sorry. I'm just confused now. Okay. 888-673-3700. We're going to go to the phones right now. Let's go to Carlos in Virginia. Hi, Carlos. You're on Ground Zero.
How you doing tonight?
I'm a little shaken. I don't know what's going on here. It's crazy.
Yeah, I heard like a little voice too when you were talking to, I forgot his name.
Camden. His name was Camden. He was from Connecticut, and he sounded like he was disturbed or something was wrong. He was very upset. I don't know what's going on. So
yeah, it was like a little muffled sound. I don't know if it was words or it was something.
It was crazy, whatever it was. My phone activated, so I got distracted. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that was it. That comment about that. That was it.
Okay, go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just saying I heard a muffled voice.
Oh, you heard a muffled voice in the call?
Yeah, it was like something when you asked him to speak to it. And
I just heard a knock. Is somebody knocking your door?
No, I'm sorry. That was me knocking on my door. I didn't mean to add to the...
Yeah, thanks, man. I was just like, all of a sudden they were knocking on the door. I'm going, okay, now who's coming to your door? You're in Virginia, for crying out loud. Who's going to come to your door at this hour? Come on. You expecting demons over for the solstice? I don't know what's going on tonight.
Oh, I have had visitors come late before.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah. I think it was like a scam to probably break in or something.
That'd be scary, man. Well, yeah, okay. I appreciate you telling me because right now, Andy is the only one working with me tonight. We usually have an intern or somebody who can help out, but tonight he's doing double duty because Ron went home. He had to go home to be with his significant other, so he's there. And I'm here wondering what the hell's going on. But in the meantime, Carlos, I appreciate the call.
Oh, I meant to ask you, did you ever check out that Mickey Mouse episode I told you about, South Park, when he turned 50?
I didn't get a chance to. No, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, you should pull up the audio on that. It's pretty funny.
Okay. I'll look into it. I appreciate it.
All right, then.
Take care. Bye-bye. Let's go to Kyle in Oregon. Hi, Kyle. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi.
Hey.
So I don't know.
I'm sorry, Kayla. It says Kayla, not Kyle.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's okay. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but like I live in Portland, and I was driving between like on I-5 between Portland and Wilsonville, and I was looked up and like there was this green like flash of light almost around the same time that the calling was going on with the Camden.
Oh, you know what's going on tonight? There's a meteor shower going on tonight.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's the Ursid.
Okay.
The Ursid meteor shower.
There was only one, and I'm like, well, it's like greenish, whatever, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, so I had to call and find out.
Yeah, 2018 Ursid's meteor shower. Let's see what it says here. If I remember, December meteor shower. Ursid's meteor shower is active annually between December 17th and December 24th. The shower usually peaks around December 23rd. At this peak, observers may be able to view as many as 10 meteors an hour. So we're right in the middle of the Ursid.
The green light was the meteor. Okay, cool.
That's amazing. You got to see that one of those flashes. Like, is it clear out there tonight?
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I mean, I was on the freeway. It was nice though. It was cool.
Okay.
I just didn't know what it was. So.
All right. Well, Kayla, thanks for calling. Thanks for telling us.
Thank you.
You had to take care.
Bye.
Let's go to Christine in Texas. Hi, Christine. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi. I had to tell you something that happened on December 19th.
Okay.
A man in green pants and a red shirt. He was really fat. But a man had a clear blue. I'm walking out of a gas station, and he's walking toward me. It's really late at night. And he said, Christine, he said, you need to go to the hospital. And I'm thinking, what? And how did he know my name? Because I didn't know this person. I did not know this person. This was in the middle of the night. And I said, excuse me? And he kind of freaked me out. He said, you need to go to the hospital. And then he laughed about it. And about 9 hours later, I had this excruciating pain in my chest. So I went to the hospital. I was released this morning, and they're saying they have to remove my gallbladder.
So
I do not. I am not overweight. I don't eat fatty food. In fact, I ate a really good diet. I don't know what to freaking think because I don't. It does not run in my family either. And who was this man in a green pants and his red shirt out of the clear blue? It was like 2:00 in the morning, Clyde.
And he told you needed to go to the hospital.
Yeah, just that, and I wasn't feeling bad at the time. In fact, I went into the hospital. I went into the gas station because I needed gas for the next morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Is there anybody with you now?
No.
You're not hearing these weird sounds. I'm hearing weird sounds coming over the phone.
Yeah, I can hear them, and it's been going on since I called. There's someone else in this car. I just got released from the hospital like 3 hours ago.
There's something on your phone line, too. It keeps, it's not happening now, but it was happening earlier.
Yeah.
Something's going on tonight. Something weird is happening tonight. And this is something that's just completely out of my control. Listen, can you hear that? Hold on. Hold on a second. Listen carefully. Listen to this. There's a ticking now. Is that you?
And my blinker's on.
Your blinker's on. Okay, your blinker's on. I'm just need to ask because I'm hearing weird stuff on your phone.
No, there's a voice. It sounds... Well, there's a woman and a man's voice in my car. My blinker should turn off now. Okay.
Man. There it is again. Did you hear that?
Yes. I'm telling you, I don't know what's... Clyde, I have lupus, but yeah, okay, that's lupus, but I get tested every single week because of my medicine, and all of a sudden they're telling me you have to have your gallbladder removed. I'm never removed on Christmas Day. Yay, thank you.
This is just too bizarre, man. I don't know what to tell you, Chris. Did you hear that again? Did you hear that?
Yeah. I'm by myself, Clyde.
Where are you at?
I'm in my car by myself.
What time is it where you're at?
It's 12:49 a.m.
You should get home. You should go home. Why are you in your car? What?
Because when I heard you on the show, I was like, I really need to call him because who's this green man in a red shirt telling me I need to go to the hospital? Then I get to the hospital and they keep me for over 24 hours. I didn't even know today was the 21st anymore. I've been asleep most of the time. I thought it was like the 20th.
No, it's the 21st. It's solstice. And now solstice is escaping you. We have the meteor shower going to happen in a full moon, so it's going to be a strange night. What's your sign?
I'm a Virgo.
I'm wondering if this is affecting certain signs of the zodiac tonight, too. It's just bizarre.
And what's weird is I did, at the hospital, I had my husband take a bottle of what's called, a bottle of medicine that you can buy over the counter to remove some of the stones. You can urinate them out. And then the doctor said, that's not going to work on it because it's a gallbladder. But when I started taking those, I started feeling better. But the doctor's like, yeah, that's in your mind. Because your gallbladder stones are definitely there. This is your gallbladder, and we don't have it removed, like, on Monday because it's too late. Right now it's military. Okay. Military hospital, they closed down.
All right, I'm going to push this just for a little bit more, and then there it goes again. What is that damn sound? That is just... It's not... What is that sound?
I'm not turning on anything. I'm not turning on anything, Clyde. There's nothing... I'm not turning on anything, not lighting a cigarette. I haven't opened a soda. I haven't opened my bottle of water.
Okay, quickly.
I haven't opened anything.
There it is again. What did the guy look like?
The guy was about 5... He's my husband's size, about 5'11". He had a long beard on him, white like my husband. Long white beard. He was wearing a red shirt and green pants, and he had on boots. And what I thought when he first talked to me, I was like, oh, how cute. He's coming off of his Santa duty, for taking pictures at a mall, or maybe he's going in. I don't know. I thought he's just like, what I mean. It's red and green. I thought Santa, but I don't know. Maybe it's stupid. I don't know. But why would he say you're going to be in the hospital? You should go to the hospital. And then he laughed about it. I mean, he was hysterically laughing.
Wow, Christine, what a story. There he is again. What is that damn thing coming over the phone?
I don't know, and I'm serious. The street right now is empty. There's me, and I can see one car behind me, and then, of course, there's that one car in front of me, but they're, like, way up there. You can just barely see their taillights.
Well, Christine, get home.
I will, and Merry Christmas to you and your wife, and you're always in my prayers.
And good luck to you at the hospital. Send me an email when you're out, okay?
I will. I don't know your email address.
GroundZeroPDX@yahoo.com. GroundZeroPDX@yahoo.com, okay?
Okay.
All right, good night.
Bye, and, good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, bye-bye. Oh, my God, what a night. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. We got a short time to tell you about our end of the year party. It's going to be on the 29th. It's the 29th, and we'd love to have you there. So come on out. It's at Paradise, 12423 Southeast Halsey. That's 12423 Southeast Halsey. We're going to have all kinds of fun things going on. We're going to sing karaoke, do a little Ground Zero Lounge, tell a few ghost stories, the whole thing, the whole routine. So we'd love to have you there. It's going to be a big event. It's the end of the year party. You'll be able to have your New Year's parties, but we're having an end of the year party just to have some fun, wrapping up the new year in style. It's the end of the game, end of the year, and we'd love to see you there. Paradise Lounge, we're very happy to have you coming on out to it. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. More Ground Zero to come in the final hour. Let's hear from you tonight. We're going to open up a few lines tonight. A lot of people having questions about what's going on. I don't know what's going on. That last call was terrifying. The calls are getting even weirder now because it is solstice. Some guy looking with white hair telling a girl that she's got to get something going on. She's sick and she ends up getting a gallbladder attack. That's creepy. And then, of course, there's Camden calling the program. A lot of people saying they heard strange things. I heard strange things on that last call. I heard strange, weird voices on that last call. I don't know. Maybe you heard that. And when I hear them, I'll acknowledge them. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. You're listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. All right, so it's been a crazy night. It's been really crazy. I know it's cold outside wherever you are. Probably it's cold. It's cold where we are. I feel the temperature's getting cold. It is the darkest night, shortest day of the year. I know a lot of people are happy at Christmas, but there's a lot of craziness going on tonight. I mean, this goes beyond the humbug of Scrooge or the burglary of the Grinch. This is something really creepy going on. I mean, this type of year, or this time of the year is actually, it's the dark times. The soul is eclipsed, the body grows tired, weary the cold, and we all want connection, we all want love. We all want to hang on to those memories of the boxes, the bows, the puppies, the tinsel. All that's pounded away by the realities of the debt and the pressures of family and the work we have. It's easy to be overwhelmed at the end of the year. Because a lot of dreams have become, they've gone unfulfilled, and potentiality is always something to lean on when things don't turn out the way you've planned. I know a lot of you this weekend are probably going to be scrambling at the stores to get that last minute gift, or you're going to be visiting the family, and that's great. And many of you are going to feel stressed out, but you need to remember that Christmas is a time of magic. We know that forces exist at this time of year, and all these forces go beyond the story of Jesus. It's a given that Christianity wants to keep a chokehold on the season because many fear that they are, clutching on to their faith like a covetous old skeptic. But truthfully, I mean, look, it's great. Christmas is awesome. It really is. And we're not there yet. We are, though, on the solstice. And the solstice has a lot of crazy things that happens, obviously. I've never done a show that I recall, a solstice show that's been this weird. But the real reason for the season before Jesus came along was to ward off a lot of these dark thoughts and these dark things and maybe even the dark futures. I mean, it is the season to light the lights and cut through the darkness and share the old folk tales or those who want to hear them. Not just the ones about the ghosts that visit old misers or bearded jolly fat men like Santa. There are a lot of cautionary tales that were created to remind us that the darkness of the season is invited in, and the responsibility to drive it out is our responsibility. I mean, if you go back some 400 years ago, it was pretty much routine to open the windows and the doors of the house. And there are rituals we do, 400 years ago, rituals that would be done that would banish the shadow entities into the howling winds of winter. Back then, you'd have a candle, and candle was lit in every household to protect it from the winter demons. Prayers were offered, and families would kneel on the cold floors praying that the demons of the north would pass over their homes and give them yet another year of life. It was 456 years ago that the moon had turned to blood in the night sky. Tonight, or tomorrow night, it will be full. But imagine having a solstice where we have a lunar eclipse. Imagine having a blood moon on the night of the Yule. That would be terrifying for most people about 456 years ago. Having a full moon or having a eclipse falling on the night of the Yule has a lot of significance. It's the idea that in darkness comes the unconquered sun and the power of the triple goddess in all of her forms, and opens up the metaphysical door that where we have all creatures of twilight, known and unknown, go to about their irreverent and profane activities. Back then there were no celebrations of Christ's birthday. I mean, this was a dark time, and people were cleansing their homes of anything foul that might enter in. And they all knew that solstice means the nights grow longer and colder. The nocturnal creatures would visit and do damage to homes and farms. There were many stories about hobgoblins and gnomes that would crawl around the chimneys at night to smell the shoes and socks of the children. I mean, if the socks were clean, they would leave a nugget of gold or silver in the toe of the stocking. If the socks were thoroughly clean and there was an odor in the shoe, then the gnomes would report to Belsnickel or Krampus or Gyla or, Perkta or whomever. I mean, these are the chief demons of the woodland. Krampus and Belsnickel, they're the demons of the north. Children were warned that they needed to watch out and beware of the furry woodland demon that carried the basket of fruit in a huge sack. And during the time of the solstice, the moon would cast a shadow on the snow, and from Iceland to Europe, these demons were seen. Children would disappear. Some were found drowned in nearby rivers and streams. Children would tell their parents that dreadful little goblins smelling of sulfur looked half human and half animal. These gnomes appeared under beds, near chimneys, and would hide in wood piles. The goblins reportedly walked pigeon-toed, and some children claimed that these little demons had a cloven hoof with long tails and goat's legs. We talked about the Spring-Heeled Jack a few hours ago. We talked about the other demons and the devils and the footprints and all the things seen in the snow. I mean, it's hard to imagine there was a time where Christmas was not celebrated the way we celebrate it now. I mean, go back just before the Civil War and you'd see what I'm talking about. There were times on Christmas Day where angry moms would bomb churches, break windows, kill clerics because they refused to recognize Christians or Christmas. It's important to understand that the celebration of Christmas is really not biblical. I mean, Jesus was not originally the reason for the season. This time of year was originally set aside to combat the winter darkness through blood sacrifice. It was a pagan holiday and was subjected to all the pagan ritual, grandeur, and legend. Midwinterblot. That's what they'd call it. Midwinterblot. Or Midwinterblut. That means midwinter blood. Did you know that in 1659, the Puritans outlawed Christmas? 1681, they lifted the ban. It once fell out of favor again in 1689. It wouldn't be considered a religious holiday until the 1750s, and even then, there'd be no parties and no mention of European traditions of the woodland demons or gnomes, especially Krampus and Belsnickel. It was still illegal to observe Christmas as a holiday in the United States and in parts of England at the time. By the early 1800s, legends brought from Europe of Santa Claus and his protective nature of children and families were emphasized along with the celebration of Christ's good deeds and the events in his life. Now, do you realize that Alabama was the first state to legalize Christmas in 1836? Boston, Massachusetts legalized Christmas in 1856. It was illegal to recognize Christmas in the state of Oklahoma until a law passed lifting the ban in 1907. That's, I mean, come on. That's not that long ago when you think about it. Christmas in its present state has managed to keep the evil gnomes and woodland demons at bay. However, there seems to be a hole in the veil that is allowing these creatures to make a return to the present. Some of these strange activities have been happening tonight on this program. Nothing planned. Not at all. Trying to keep track of what's going on, actually. Call came in of Camden who said he saw some strange solstice angel or dark angel or demon in his home. We had another call of, we may get back to these calls, another call of someone who said she was told, that she had to go to the hospital. A man that had a white beard and white hair. He was wearing a green and red and wearing boots, and she said that, he laughed at her and said, "You need to go to the hospital." When she went to the hospital, she found out that, her gallbladder was inflamed. And she was upset. It was obvious she was. I mean, these are some very strange things happening tonight on the program. A lot of sightings, a lot of strange activities. And so here we are in the last hour of our solstice show. And I'm going to, Andy's been working really hard, and hopefully we're going to review some of the calls that came in tonight that are of concern, and we want to get your phone calls too. So, we're going to open a few lines. If you had any experiences, or if you want to comment on what's been happening tonight on the show, been listening, I wanted to hear what your comments are, because it's like, I'm alone here except for Andy on the other side of the glass. It's very quiet. In fact, it's deathly quiet. And I'm going to give you the phone numbers, and you can call in and talk tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to analyze those calls that came in that were pretty bizarre tonight. So, 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. The numbers to call tonight. We are live. This is not a recorded show, and I'm sure many people are thinking that, a lot of people have taken off for the holidays. We're working tonight, and we will be off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We'll be back on the 26th, Boxing Day. And we're getting ready for the weekend, but, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. It's solstice night. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. It's solstice. Having some fun with the music tonight. Okay, we're going to go to the phones just for a second. Let's see. All right. All right, we're going to go to David in Oregon. Hi, David. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. How you doing?
Doing good, man.
Good. Yeah, so I've been a construction worker now, for about 10 years, and this is our last night working for the holidays. I'm already off and headed home now, but, so me and a couple guys on my crew tonight. We're up on the 3rd floor in a building refurbishing, and we're working and we're shutting down, and we're leaving the site there, and we see a guy up there. We don't know who he is. He's all black, and his back was to us, and he's walking down the stairs. And we follow him down to try to, see what he's doing, because there's a lot of vandals and, transients here in Portland. And he goes down the stairs, and we follow him down there. We get out, and we're looking around the front of the job site for him. We look back up, and he's looking at us through the 3rd floor window that we just came down off of.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
So he's looking down at you.
Yeah, he was. I thought I'd call and kind of share my story and get your thoughts on it, especially since it's the solstice.
So it happened tonight while you were working?
Yeah, just about 2 hours ago, maybe.
Wow.
Really freaked me out, and we went back up there, and there's no other way out of that house down the stairs except we came down, and he was not up there when we went back up there, so I have no idea what to think about it.
Well, we've had a lot of strange things happen here tonight on the air, too. I mean, just it's weird phones, weird sounds, weird this. I mean, I don't know. It's just been a crazy night. It was very quiet tonight, actually, and then all of a sudden it got a little weird, and then it got quiet, and it seems to be like this roller coaster ride of activity that's happening right now. So it's certainly I don't know. It's been one of those nights. I've never had a solstice so active in my life.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. It was just kind of one of those scary things, and I thought, I don't know if it could have been like a paranormal thing or. Oh
yeah, that sounds paranormal to me. I mean, if you're doing your work and you see some guy looking down at you, I mean that would give me the creeps, man. Looking up and seeing somebody looking down on me, that's pretty creepy.
Yeah,
really creepy.
Since we were just up there, and I don't know. So.
All right, well, David, I thank you for calling the program.
Yeah, thank you, Clint, for your thoughts.
You bet. Bye-bye. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. Peculiar night here on the solstice. Glad you can be here with us. Going into Christmas this next week. So, anyway, opening a few lines for you. If you want to call in tonight, give your experiences, and also just want to talk about Christmas or want to, I don't know, just give us a call. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. I mean, we always seem to buy for people on our list, people we don't even like, people we want to impress. That's all right, I guess. Millions of American families are doing this from homes that they're about to lose, homes they don't even own, and quite possibly homes that can be seized from them with all the new draconian laws they're passing. Hell, somebody should say something to the Oregon Department of Revenue. Say something to Kate Brown. Ask her how she feels about running a mafia, because that's exactly what she does. And no one bats an eye. No one cares. We got people homeless in the streets because of all the policies that she's implied and imposed on everybody here in this damn state. And we've got Wheeler, who hasn't done a damn thing either. We have people fighting each other in the streets here. I hope we have a lot of improvement, because I think the reason why we're having such dark times in the solstice is because of bad management in our state. I mean, I kept quiet about it for a long time, but man, I'm getting to the point where I can't keep quiet about it anymore. It's so damn bad. I mean, look, if there's no money out there to be spent, then how do people find cash to buy a bunch of nonsense for a day? I want to know this. I mean, I'm really trying to bust through the illusion and wonder if we really are going to see a complete and utter failure of the banks. The economy took a dump. Here's another thing, too. Everybody's talking about the government shutdown. Aren't we shut down anyway? Anybody going to work tomorrow? No. Anybody going to work Sunday? No. Anybody going to work on the 24th? No. Anybody going to work on the 25th? No. So what's this shutdown nonsense? They're shutting down anyway. It's Christmas. Doesn't make any sense. Look, I guess this Christmas will be a time where we can all pretend that everything's okay. I mean, the elite are saying we're shutting down for a couple of days. Yeah, they shut down anyway. They give us one day left of our lives, Christmas. As the prospect sickens and the snowfall starts to take the gray look from all the pollution, we'll go back to the harsh reality of the fact that we didn't realize that all this could be the final observation of our normal lives, and that the new world awaits us, and that all these crazy things are happening. Because, damn it, there's a lot of darkness in the world right now. It is the darkest day of the year. And I think we have a real good, tangible excuse to be a little paranoid this Christmas. I mean, there's an excuse for feeling needy. There's an excuse for wanting to find a way to be with the family. There's a valid reason for taking that full 4-hour weekend off, 4-day weekend off. I mean, there's a reason for holding hands, a reason for hugging, contacting old friends and family. There's a reason to drink the wine at Christmas dinner and really savor the rich flavor, sipping it slowly and deliberately for the sake of the final Christmas this may be. At least that's what we're told, right? Look, if you decided there'd be no tree this year, maybe you should go pick one up. Bring it home. Put it in the stand. Throw an aspirin in the water, just like your mother told you to do. Do it because you love your mother. Do it because... Do it even though she would nag at you. Just do it. Christmas was the time of year where you could eat at a table as a family. You'd sneak a piece of ham or turkey, take the black olives, put them on your fingers, in the holes and stuff, and eat them one by one. Look, they're trying to tell us, Christmas may not be this or may not be that, but look, why don't you just be the best you can be? I mean, the other night we were talking about the last Christmas. If this was the last Christmas, then what would we do? Would we act like what we're acting like? Are we going to get all worked up about a nativity scene, not in the public square or in the public square? I mean, are we going to sneer if somebody says Merry Christmas or somebody says Happy Holidays? Christmas is Christmas. Solstice, though, pretty dark this year. I'm already feeling it. The day that marks the least amount of daylight, longest period of darkness. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to that, but today I'm paying attention to it. I'm paying attention to it a lot tonight because of the strange stuff that's been happening, that's for sure. Let's go to Kaza in Oregon. Hi, Kaza. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. I'm calling tonight because as you were having that strange call earlier tonight, I was listening to you and I'm driving by Peacock Lane.
Oh, my God.
Well, we were singing the night before. We were caroling, a group of us. So tonight I'm driving by and I'm hearing you talk, and just then that guy's voice comes on in that strange timbre that he had. It was almost high-pitched, and I heard the sounds that you were talking about, so I was moved to call because I've seen a lot of strange things. I used to run seance groups in New York City. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to a lot of bizarro things happening.
Right.
But that on your phone, when I was listening to you on the radio, I thought, first of all, my thought was that you were showing a great deal of compassion and empathy and kindness because you don't know who's calling you in or what their state of mind is.
Right.
Then I heard the noises, and I heard your phone go on, and it sent a chill up my spine. It was very, very bizarre.
Yeah, it was. Let me play a portion of that call so people know what you're talking about. For those of you who don't know, there was a guy named Camden. Camden called in from Connecticut. And as he was calling the show, he said that there was some sort of a figure in his room. He said that it looked like a smiling dark angel. And he said that he was looking at it, and I told him to talk to it. And the minute he said he was going to talk to it, my phone activated, and then his phone started acting crazy. You started hearing weird sounds. This is the last part of that call. And he told you needed to go to the hospital. Sorry, that's the wrong call. Let's go to the call that it is. It's Camden. This is Camden. There was another call that came in, too. It was really strange. Let's go to this one. This is Camden. Call out to it.
Hello?
Call out to it. Is it saying anything to you?
It says that it's my Aunt Karen.
It's calling to your Aunt Karen?
It's telling me that it's my Aunt Karen.
Did your Aunt Karen die?
No, she died.
She did die?
Yeah.
And that's all we got of Camden. When he called in, we could hear the strange sounds. When my phone activated, everything went strange, and then we heard these strange sounds over the phone. But he said that he had some sort of a dark angel in his house, and he said he couldn't get rid of it. He said it was his Aunt Karen.
So I normally love going into people's basements and attics because that's where, scary stuff happens. But yeah, when I heard your call when that thing happened, it sent chills up my spine. It was very bizarre.
Did you hear the call with Christine?
I did.
And about the guy that told her that she needed to go to the hospital?
Yes.
Let me play that call again while we're talking about Akaza. Here is a call from Christine, who said that a man with a beard and white hair wearing, I think it was like a red shirt and green pants and wearing boots, came out and told her she needed to go to the hospital. She went to the hospital, found out that she has gallbladder problems. Listen to this. And he told you needed to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and I wasn't feeling bad at the time. In fact, I went into the hospital. I went into the gas station because I needed gas for the next morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Is there anybody with you now?
No.
You're not hearing these weird sounds. I'm hearing weird sounds coming over the phone.
Yeah, I can hear them, and it's been going on since I called. There's someone else in this car. I just got released from the hospital like 3 hours ago.
There's something on your phone line, too. It keeps, it's not happening now, but it was happening earlier.
Yeah.
Something's going on tonight. Something weird is happening tonight, and this is something that's just completely out of my control. So I was calling all this out while it was happening on the phone because I could hear it. It was some sort of, guttural sounds, weird sounds were going over the phone. So I don't know, Kaza, what do you make of it? I mean, you said that now when you do these seances, are you a medium?
Yes. And so what we discovered is that it was always two of us that would be leading these groups in New York City. And what we found was that a lot of people were really frightened by these dark energies or we would get visualizations. And so people sometimes would be frightened by it. And what we were trying to tell them, and this is how we were taught too, is that it's merely entities and you interpret them as you see them, depending on the filter that you're looking through wherever you are in your life.
Right.
If you're in a good place, if you're in a forgiving place. The first couple of times some of us saw them, we would be frightened, and then, our teachers just walked us through it and said, look, these are just entities coming through.
Right.
Interpret them with love and protect yourself with, prayers and meditation. But a lot of times people can interpret people coming through, like maybe his aunt that was coming through that died, and he gets frightened because he's not used to the energy, and we see Hollywood portraying this stuff in a very frightening way. It's always devils with teeth and, how to get you for some wrong that you've done.
Right.
But a lot of times spirits are coming through, and this is my belief, of course, that they are coming through out of love and compassion and trying to give guidance to us when we're in our darkest moment, when we lose someone. We're very dark, we're very grief-stricken, and that's when we're most open to other energies coming in, especially loving energies. Mm-hmm. So we can just interpret them in a negative way, but I hope Camden interprets this positively. We think you showed a great deal of compassion, and you were very actively listening to him. And that's what moved me to call tonight, is how actively you were listening to him and giving him respect and empathy.
Well, Kaza, thank you. Yeah, I mean, when people are having these experiences, they're having them over the phone. They took the time to call, so I should have the decency to take the time to listen to what they have to say. And believe me, it was a creepy call, and didn't know how to react to it after a while. But of course, also Christine's call was also equally moving. She said that she had a visit of somebody telling her to go to the hospital, and she did. They found out there was something wrong with her liver. She said she's never had health problems before, and then all of a sudden to have a guy who was a bearded guy with white hair and telling her that she's, it's almost like those Phantom Santa stories we were talking about earlier. So it's just creepy night. Solstice night, that was creepy.
Absolutely, could be an angel coming to her aid too. Could be. Who knows?
Could be. Angels can be kind of eerie as well. Kaza, thank you for the call.
Yes, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye-bye. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. We'll get some more calls, and we're going to call it a night before Christmas. Okay? So we'll be back with more. Don't go away. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to Scott in Minnesota. Hi, Scott. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde.
Hey, man.
I used to listen to a Bible teacher who knew Hebrew, and he would translate. He said that Christmas trees were against the law in the early colonies.
Yeah, because a lot of the Puritans didn't believe in celebrating Christmas. People don't realize that Christmas celebrations are only about 100 years old right now, a little over 100 years old, almost, probably 200 years old. We haven't celebrated Christmas like this. I mean, people will say, oh, it's Jesus' birthday. No one celebrated Jesus' birthday until about 100 years ago. No one.
I agree. He wasn't born on that day. I'm kind of a Christian, But
well, I mean, no, he wasn't. But I mean, we observed the holiday. The observance of the holiday. I mean, the holiday was declared, but it wasn't celebrated like it is now with all of the presents and the Santa Claus and all this stuff. I mean, we had Father Christmas, we had Santa Claus, we had Krampus, we had all those characters. They just didn't ship well or pack well when they went overseas to the United States, and so the Puritans really didn't like Christmas. In fact, they outlawed it.
Yeah, because they're afraid of this thing.
Well, people would party and they'd have sex and all kinds of crazy stuff. They do all the pagan things that they weren't supposed to do,
Okay.
And we still do all the pagan things we're not supposed to do. You realize that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why.
Did a few of your ladies called in when I was a little girl? Santa opened my bedroom door and it scared me. One girl came down the staircase and seen him in her living room.
Mm-hmm.
Was that on Christmas Eve, Clyde, or are you talking only solstice?
No, that was on Christmas Eve. I mean, those stories they were compiled by a guy named Stephen Wagner, and we were talking with him. We were in contact with him. He's a writer and actor, and right now he's not available. But he said we could talk about the stories. But yeah, the stories are just basically stories of people when they were children, except for that 37-year-old guy who said that he ran into a guy at the dumpster who knew him by name and he didn't know who he was. And it was another situation like we had with Christine, where, she said that she saw a guy that was a bearded guy and told her she needed to go to the hospital. When she went there, they found out she had something wrong with her gallbladder. But this is a guy that said 37 years old, taking stuff to the dumpster. He runs into a guy with long white hair and a long beard. He's wearing suspenders and a green shirt. And he says, "Hey, Richard, how you doing?" And he says, "I didn't know the guy. I know who he was." But he said, "Hey, Richard," to me, as if he knew me, like he knew me forever.
Yeah, that's creepy, And going back to the Christmas tree, so this came out of Europe, this Krampus thing that became the American Santa Claus. Is that where Krampus?
Well, no, Krampus was always the bad cop to Santa's good cop. He'd follow St. Nicholas around everywhere. He was around a lot longer than Santa Claus or St. Nicholas was. It was always.
That's why the trees were illegal in America in the early days. Is that?
I don't think so. I think they were because they didn't want anything dealing with paganism. I mean, look. Everything about Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, we've separated the holidays. But in the ancient times, they all came together. It was the Feast of Saturnalia, the Feast of St. Nicholas, plenty of feasting, like Thanksgiving is our feast time. There were the witches, the warlocks, the treachery. It all gave way to rituals, sacrifices. It opened the minds to all kinds of paranormal ideas. And, a lot of people saw it as tomfoolery and said, hey, we don't want to celebrate this. So then religion came along, and that's why.
I wish you could find an elder. Oh.
Hello?
Santa Claus on this stuff we had Father Christmas yet.
What the hell is this? What was that? Did you hear that? It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. It was creepy. What was that? We don't even have time to go back there. We're out of time tonight. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you on the 26th. It has been the craziest damn solstice Merry Christmas, everybody. Oh my goodness.